everyone. Welcome to the Monday Morning Murder Podcast. I am your host, Faye Fire, and I am here with my lovely co-host, Miss Mandolin. I'm already off to a great start. We are having some, before we get into it, there's a terrible storm outside. So if my power by chance cuts out, Mandy will carry on the show and I'll try and pop up on my phone. But anyways.
I'll try.
You're an excellent host.
Well, she's here. She's frozen again. Well, anyway, good morning, fellow jackets. All my citizen detectives, all my Yellowjackets enthusiasts. We are having hindering spirits, demonic activity, pretty much like Laura Lee today. And we're trying to be in flight, but man, we're blowing up in sight. So let's see if Erin can get back in, if she's frozen. What's going on? Hey, chat. Good morning, Morgan Spears, S. Roses 87, Miss Duncan the Tall. Thank you guys for being here. We are excited to get into this flight of the Bumblebee. Buzz, 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 buzz. And I would like to say, after a vicious attack, the girls suss out their best and worst ideas. This is all about finding purpose, and in the wilderness, we find our purpose. And in this podcast, we hope to find ours and share our ideas with you so you can find yours. Many character struggles, find, claim, or have demise this week. All that glittery is not good and glittery reveals. So we're buzzing, high blood hive. Let's fly into a plane, a bird, and like Laura Lee or Leonard, and let's get the sweet honey of this episode going. We invite you to make comments and just get on in the discussion, and make sure you give us a like because it helps the logarithms. And yes, we would appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. Yes, and definitely hit the like button. Thank you for being here. Thank you for spending your Monday morning with us. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, definitely subscribe. I mean, what's holding you back? Also, if I know these times are tough, but if you guys want to check out my Patreon page, definitely do so. Patreon.com/Fayfire. And I do all kinds of exclusive stuff. Right now my patrons have exclusive access to the first part of my Alice Rivers video. So if you jump on board with that, then hey, you'll get to see that early. So anyways, thankfully, I warned you guys about my Wi-Fi and the storm because it immediately cut out right then. So thank you for holding it down, Mandy. Hopefully that doesn't happen again.
It's honestly, I don't know if since we were talking about all these hindering spirits and stuff, that's the Delilah spirit. And I'm going to talk about Taissa. And if you guys don't know about Samson and Delilah, and that's where I think Taissa gets Sammy from. Samson, Delilah cuts Samson, and she doesn't allow him to proceed. He takes his weaknesses and blames him for things. And we see this in episode with her and Van getting cut, falling asleep in her lap, and then these things happen. But we're not going to talk about that quite yet. Let's talk about updates and news, because I want to talk about Showtime, and because obviously we got to support Showtime and give it some love, because this is all about Showtime. And so I want to talk about and give a shout out to the Women in the Wall. I just watched the first episode, but wow, it looks really good, really insightful, and just into the fact of women's rights and how we get silenced, and then this whole thing about the nuns who are taking over. And I don't want to give it away, but I just want to shout it out because it's a new series, and I think that if you watch Yellowjackets, you're going to be really into this series as well. She also has a flipping alter personality type thing going on, which is very similar to some of our characters. And that's all I want to talk about. Do you want to talk about True Detective, Erin?
Oh yeah, I talked about it a little bit last week. So True Detective I've been watching that. It's on the 3rd episode of season 4, and I have just been loving it so much. It's just awesome. And I want to give a shout out to Moni G and thank her for the suggestion. Her and Steel Rain had suggested I cover that show, and I'm still considering it. I have so many ideas and so many things to anyways, it's such a detailed series that I kind of feel underprepared prepared to start covering it. Like my brain is just not all the way there, and it just is so detailed. And I've been watching other people do videos on it, and I'm just like, oh my God, they're doing an excellent job covering this show. And I just don't feel like my brain is there. So I'm kind of just enjoying like being a viewer of the show versus covering it. But I do have a lot of theories and ideas. So I don't know. I might do like a quick live stream or something like that for it. Cause I've had, you know, you guys, and then even my husband, he's like, you should cover the show. Da, da, da. I'm like, my brain is lost in Yellowjackets land and House of the Dragon land. So anyways, tra-la-la. But I do recommend watching True Detective if you guys are looking for something good to watch. It's on HBO. So I am rather enjoying it. But let's go ahead and we'll get into this episode, I suppose, and just start talking about where's my.
So let's
Laura Lee.
Break down the episode first. Director Ariel Kyman, written by Cameron Brent Johnson and Liz Fang. Co-executive producers is Liz Fang, Jamie Travis, and Mandy Rosa, and of course created by Ashley Lyle and Bart Nicholson, which we already know. I want to start by like what's in a name, the flight of the Bumblebee. So I think that's really important because every single episode of this series has significance in the names, whether it be edification, the saints, all these things, they all equal out actually. And I see now there's a huge pattern in the prophetic lines and things that are talking about there are a lot of demonic things and activities, and a lot of it refers to processes in the Bible that like people have to go through purification, like that they have to go through to become whole again, or that they go through to be tormented, or the wilderness examples, for example. But the flight of the Bumblebee, I think, is really interesting because it's really a musical piece, and it's used with the chromatic scale at a fast pace. And the chromatic scale goes back to the chromatic scale goes back to the ancient geometry and trigonometry stuff and references. So the sacred like geometry stuff and the music and healing notes and things like that. And I want to say that the flight of Bumblebee is from the opera, where there's a prince transformed into a bee by a magical swan, and the prince does so he can fly to his father, who doesn't know his son is still alive. So it's kind of interesting that it is actually from an excerpt of the opera, The Tale of the Star Sultan, and then he wants to fly back to make sure that everyone knows that they're alive. It has violins, which the world's smallest violin, which is very kind of tragic.
Well, you guys have probably all heard this song. Like I was listening to it last night and I was like, oh yeah, everybody knows this little, I probably can't play it just because YouTube things, but if you look it up, you know, we've all heard it. It's like just like crazy violins the whole time. I love it. It's a great little song. So yeah, it's interesting. Miss Laura Lee, she's taking wing in this episode.
Yeah, and shrinking to insect size, the solar powered suit enables her to fly, like be like wings, and then fire sonic force blast, unleash electrical stings. So it kind of all goes together, right? Because the bear blows up, fire sonic force blast, electrical stings.
Interesting. Yeah. It is interesting, and we'll get into it more later about Leonard and like why he burst into flames. Because I mean, was that obviously that wasn't real, but yeah, there's a lot to contemplate with that. Well, so
yeah,
before we get to it, if you guys are here watching live, drop it in the chat. Why do you think that whole situation happened with Laura Lee? Like, why do you think the bear burst into flames? What do you think that symbolized? And you know, one thing that was notable is this episode starts out with Laura Lee and the flashback of her at the swimming pool. And she has like sunburst, excuse me. Whoops. Sorry, Jackie. She has like sunburst. Her toes are all painted like little suns. And so she has a lot of like that fire explosion symbolism connected to her. But what was interesting about this scene with her also was that she hits her head. She tries diving into the pool. public safety announcement. You don't dive when it's only what 5 feet or something. I mean, there's a bunch of little kids bouncing around, so 3 feet, 4 feet, whatever. But she dove and cracked her head, but she hit her head right where Lottie also hits her head when she sort of opens her third eye. So, and that's where that's like located at. So it is very interesting that she was sort of the first to experience that kind of what we might like correlate with Laura or with Lottie being sort of like an awakening that came through a traumatic experience. Laura Lee was actually someone who experienced that long ago when they were kids. So it is kind of interesting. She's like the first that was awakened, but also the first to demise.
Yeah. So there are head injuries that also with David and Goliath and incite some of the hands and prophetic stuff. Like they say, strike me, please. And then the prophet turns people into another man. And like this head injury, which she got struck, got turned into another man. And I think it was interesting because we have to pay attention to this being a symbol. And then they have marks on their head, whether it be Baal or whether it be the mark of the chosen ones or whatever it is. This is a thing into prophetic realms of unveiling the spirit realm, which is where these girls are active in right now. So this was her, I think this was her first thing into the spirit realm. And then also, the near-death experience here. She did,
Yeah, she has a near-death experience, which may have shown her something that the other girls had not experienced themselves. But also when you say that she is like the prophet, there was she basically baptizes Lottie in the lake and sort of initiates her into that. We always I always associate Lottie with Apollo. So there's something to that because Laura Lee is associated with sort of Jesus Christ, and Apollo and Jesus are very conflated in a sense.
I feel like
there's
she's kind of like
that I like.
Yeah, I actually kind of related her to the John the Baptist a little bit because everyone's like, shut up, Laura Lee, you're crazy or whatever. And then obviously she's baptizing. So, and when you have these like prophetic spirits, you choose as a prophet, like you're gifted new prophet levels or new prophet spirits with each experience or when they come. Like spirits can come and go. And when you have an opening to the veil, you can open the door to pretty much any spirits that are there, whether it be demonic spirits, strongholds, prophetic, good or evil, it doesn't matter. The door's open. So, and then a lot of times you get evil spirits that are disguised as good. So I think that she's kind of everyone's dealing with their own demons here, or they're dealing with their own angels in a sense. And I think it's important here that she also thinks that this guy is an angel. He's like, it wasn't me, it was Jesus, or it was. So we tend to do a lot of times, and there's a lot of idolization throughout the show. Obviously, it's all about setting up the idols, and so it's another point to point out about how we make idols in people. Because a lot of times she was making an idol of this man, and a lot of people are making idols of Lottie right now. So it all kind of correlates.
I took on that note, I took a screenshot this morning, which I'll just show you because there's something about this scene right here with Van and Ty that kind of reminds me of that so much, where Van's almost like clinging to Ty like she is sort of an idol. But also if we look at their whole, the whole thing with Thaisa being Hecate, who is a triple-faced deity, and something about this just reminded me of that because Thaisa is struggling in this episode with her altar coming out, but then Van is almost like the third aspect of her triple goddess face. And that might be me looking too much into it, but I just really love that because more than once we see in this episode where they're sort of clinging to each other, and it is really tragic. But anyways, interesting. There's a lot of overlap and connections that way in this episode.
So I Van with this whole symbolism of fire in this, and they say like Jesus, for example, is a consuming fire. But I looked at this as walking with you because in the daytime, Thaisa has a very holy outwardly appearance, and she was carrying her. And so I kind of thought that about that steps in the sand where Jesus carries you and through the stuff, because it's very rare that Van, and I look at Van, I say evangelist Van, because with the prophetic callings and things, evangelist is one of them. And she is one of the people who brings people to Lottie's faith. She brings people to believe. She explains and justifies. She explains and justifies why consuming hobby brings life, and she's going to fight for life. And then this is one of the times we see Van is as well, she wants to die. She says, kill me, please. She doesn't feel good. And then Taissa says, I can't make it without you. So this is, not only is it tender-hearted, but it's very like, I don't know. I thought of Jesus carrying me through the fire. It's a consuming fire type of thing. And it was just, to me, like, that's what I thought. Like, I felt, and there was a whole like walk with me step. And she says, one step at a time. She knows she's groaning, pain, suffering, death, but step by step. Mm-hmm. And then Ty's light, because Taissa, we talk all about the lamps and the light. Ty's light helps carry her. Mm-hmm. Put one foot in front of the other. So, step by step, you'll lead me. And I'll follow you. I'll follow you all my days, or I'll be trapped in all your ways, because she just keeps going on and on and on. And their relationship is so heavy, which is the Delilah spirit. The Delilah spirit will keep you trapped like that. And it's really interesting because what Delilah did to Samson, and I think that we see a mix of this between Taissa. She hands him over, and they cut out and gouge out his eyes so he can't see. And then I thought about Taissa's grandmother. So I think there's a lot of inserts into the whole story of Samson and Delilah throughout Taissa and Van, and then Taissa and her new wife and new family. It talks about Delilah braiding hair and taking the hair and cutting the hair as the power. In last episode, what did Taissa do? Cut her hair, to claim power. So I would like to make a video about that in the future. I don't want to get too deep into it today because it's not that relevant to this episode. But I just wanted to shout out that there are really, really deep connections throughout that. And I just found that out in some reading this week. And I'm really excited to actually learn more and share more when I know more next week, or maybe in a video once I get my stuff together to make. I'm pretty busy lately.
Thank you all if you guys are watching live. I just want to give a shout out to the chat. Mrs. Duncan the Tall, if you're watching or listening, good morning. S. Roses, Morgan Spears, Lola, thank you all. And if you're watching, drop a hello in the chat and let us know, is it Evangeline or Sir Vancelot? That's what I always call her. But anyways.
I'm telling you. With the prophetic calling, like, I'm really telling you, I have like a whole thing. I put the names together because Nat means freedom, or Natalie means born again, born, nativity, born. And then there's Lottie Matthews is Charlotte is queen, and Matthew is like the book of Matthew. And then with anyway, we'll do this.
Lottie is Charlotte's web, because she's got a whole web going on. She's got that's the men.
It means little queen, Charlotte does. And then also Matthew, like the book of Matthew. So there's a lot of things going on with the book of Matthew that she relates to. And then like with Coach Ben and Paul, and like the prophet Paul bringing people to new cities, trying to make a move and trying to make them speak their truth. There's a lot of deeper stuff into that. And with this whole prophetic thing that I'm really just, I've been downloading and being shown.
Interesting, Lola.
Yeah.
I've caught a few connections here too. And like, there's a very similar energy. Sorry, going back to True Detective. Yeah, the one-eyed bear situation, but also there are like some really similar vibes just because it takes place in Alaska. Again, another reason why I should cover it probably, but it takes place in Alaska, and there's a lot of like the native culture and sort of combating with the white colonialist culture and things that are happening in the land, and like mining issues and that kind of thing. There's a lot of overlapping parallels. And then of course this dynamic between the two leading women is very I mean, I don't know about you all, but one of my theories is like they have very Shauna Jackie energy, let's just say. So agree, disagree. Anyways, let me know, Lola, what do you think? But okay. So all right, let's go. Let's talk about Van. Hold on. I've got a photo here. So let's talk about her. And the episode sort of starts with basically they decide, so she was attacked by the wolves in the last episode. And she's pretty messed up and she's unconscious. So they think that she's dead or she does die. I mean, basically we see she has sort of a rebirth situation. Like she's born again and she born by fire, kissed by fire. And so there's something, of course they're playing with Van. This is the second time that they play with her fiery demise, as they did back in the episode 2.
Let me jump in on that note, because I was thinking about that and I was like, what if Van was because she shows up after the blast, right? They're like, Van! And then she shows up after. What if like that was her dead spirit?
No, it was before that.
Oh, okay, it was? Because I was thinking about,
you mean when she comes back out? When she comes back out, she's like surprised. Yeah. Very true.
Yeah, what if she actually died there? And then this, I know that's a little bit far, but I was like, maybe that's her spirit, because they are in the spirit realm and people are like, fake and appearing all the time. She could be there. It was just an idea. I mean, I don't think it's true, but it's just, I wanted to share that, because like she died by fire, and maybe that's why we're not getting her death dreams and like those certain things that we get from all the other characters.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, she may have. It is interesting. I mean, she's come closer to death than most of them. And it is interesting that like, this is the second time they kind of play with her death, third time's the charm, but also in this episode, like we're kind of toying with, we're so caught up in the idea that there's something like Van's on the brink of death, that when the other death that actually happens in this episode comes, when it happens, it really catches us off guard, because it's like, whoa, and she was trying to save her. And so it is this extra layer of tragedy to it. But yeah, so they decide to burn Van on a funeral pyre, and she sort of has this, vision, this death vision, where she sees Ty and she sees the girls all gathered around her, but everything's hazy. It's all in purple, which I think is, very significant for just the story in general, because also later Shauna does the same thing with her dresses. But anyways, but yeah, so she has this kind of vision and things are all purple and kind of out of focus. And I don't know, what do you guys think? Was she having like a near-death experience? Was she having sort of an out-of-body experience? When you like, I always think of like cartoons and that kind of thing when someone dies and their like spirit leaves their body, but it's like literally just floats up out of their body. And it's almost like this would be a realistic view of that same concept. What do you guys think? It's creepy, and clearly she's gone through something. She's touched the other side, which has a significant impact on her, because later, like when she and Thaisa are, yes, Esra says, I agree. When she and Thaisa are kind of like, because after this, Van starts to sort of feel more connected to Lottie and like that spiritualism that Lottie, projects, right? And so, but it throws Ty off, because this is a different version of Van. This is a different part of her that she doesn't know. And so it is interesting. Yeah. What are your thoughts, Mandy?
Well, purple is a sacred color too. Jesus' sashes are usually purple. Purple means royalty, and purple is also a prophetic color, and a color that is about the spirit realm, about the veil. It's about the people who are able to see, like with the third eye. When you open your chakras, you get to a certain level where purple is like, it's
the crown.
It's considered that color. So I think that it's, I think it's good, because I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, there's a lot of purple association in this show. So we have talked about it, especially when we were talking about the Greek stuff, because purple is a color for royalty. It's reserved for royalty, but in like the Greek and Roman cultures, and we talked about this a lot with the Eleusinian mysteries, the priestesses at Eleusis, they actually wore purple. And even in the presence of the emperor, like no one else is allowed to wear purple, but these priestesses were. And so the purple or the heliotrope that's like associated with their that's Lottie's cult, but also it has a lot of symbolic meaning behind it. And even later in this episode, like when Jeff buys Shauna that yellow dress, and in his mind, he's probably thinking, oh, yellow is like associated with like their high school and with the Yellowjackets and that kind of thing, because that's their mascot. But Shauna, she changes into a different dress, and the dress she chooses is purple. And I think that's like super significant. But we don't really see that. And she puts on the other dress, I think, in the next episode. But I just think there's something to that.
Yeah, that's why I was like heliotrope, and I don't know, my mind got blank. But yes, the heliotrope thing and the whole going to the sun.
Morgan, good point. Am I the only one who feels like burning a body in the woods after a wolf attack would just attract more predators? Feels like a bad idea. Good point. Let's see. I was surprised at how inconsiderate Ty was after her attack and her near-death experience. You saved her, so how can you be so closed off? Yeah, it is interesting. Oh, good question, S. Roses. Yeah, she is a little bit insensitive to, but Ty is just so business. Like, she just does not, she's not open to that side of herself. And that's why it's almost like her alter personality is forced out, like it's forced into this box of like all those things that she's rejecting in like her conscious mind of like spiritualism and, you know, all of the energy and that kind of thing that they're experiencing out there. And she's just like, no, and forces it down until it comes out as her alter personality, who is completely connected to all of those things that conscious Ty has rejected.
Yeah. And she's blind to it all because of that, because she, like, it's like the covert narcissist and like that, they're shells. She's literally a shell. And when her in the future, when her and Shauna are talking about being in love, which we'll talk later, like she refers being in love as an enemy. And then they talk about their passions and future, what she was supposed to do. She did what she wanted and was supposed to do. She creates this basically outward shell and has no feelings inside. Like, they literally do not have feelings. They only see, like, the covert sociopath, psychopath, they have just this outward shell and do not process anything other than evil against what their image and shell is. And there's nothing inside their empty Blake souls who use and abuse and parasite off of people like Van, who consume and live through the fire and have that fire burning in them and get up time and time and time again and rise up and have that energy. Because Taissa is like, she just, everything with Van is like, I need you, I need you, I need you. And it's, Van just loves. So yeah, it really is covert. They're nothing inside. Like, they have nothing in them except for their only ego is their shell. And when you touch or you attack their outward appearance, like we see in the future, Taissa, when people go at her image, she goes at full-fledged, and she will not and does not even understand the other side of her. She's blind to it, and she's blind to anything that isn't. She compromises her image, and if you compromise her image, then you're gone. Like, I don't know. Kind of like, there's nothing inside covert narcissists. There's not.
The man with no eyes. It is really actually a very interesting representative of that. The man with no eyes inside of this woman, you know? I don't know. And also, it's an interest. I think we've kind of talked about this before, but it's like, I wonder if Van is more in love with the conscious or unconscious aspect of Taissa. Like, is she more connected to her conscious self? Or
she's tied to the Turner. She's Taissa Turner. Van is tied legally tied to the turner, and Thaisa's turning, and
That's-
Taissa takes back and forth. No, it is. It's the truth. It's literally
I
it.
love it.
And what happens is it's turning round and round and round like covert narcissists do. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna change. I love you. I need you. This after betrayal, after betrayal, after betrayal. I'm gonna take watch. I'm gonna do it. What happens? Covert narcissists literally eat you alive. They eat you alive like wolves. They come in the night. They come when you're not looking. When you trust and put your life upon them, they will kill you. They will literally kill you piece by piece. She's not dead yet, but she was, she gets killed, and you see them becoming and taking all of your energy because they don't know anything inside. They have nothing inside of them. It's empty people of the shell. Let me give drop a link for this guy I watched who's amazing. It's a doctor. Well, I don't know. Just Google covert narcissist empty, and you'll see there's a lot of it's literally psychological. There's a lot of videos. There's a lot of theories about it. They really don't have emotions like we do. They're not an emotional, intelligent people because they were trained as little children or given everything. Like Taissa's parents, you want this, honey? We'll drive you. We'll give you this. We'll do that. She never had to think like Van did. And Van always had to be a parent. Van was a parent. So we're seeing that concept of them like Jackie and Shauna. One is the giver, one is the taker. And Van had to be a parent. And Taissa is taking all her energy and expecting everything from her. And Van gives everything to her because that's Van's idea of love. And Taissa doesn't even know how to express. She likes the idea of, this is my image. And when Van doesn't fit her image, which in the future, I don't know if we're going to see or not, but it seems like, or Van is completely weak to all of Taissa's round and round betrayal, turning, betrayal, love. They give you enough food to survive, to feel like they love you. They give you enough good things to feel connected. Then again, when you're sleeping, while you were sleeping, or while you're blind to them, they'll attack. Or they'll let the guard down.
The bad one.
You are hurt. You are physically hurt. And we see in this whole show, Van becomes physically hurt. She takes on these physical tormentations through her mother, through Taissa, physical pain, which we know that trauma resists in the body. So Van is a lot, she's taking it all in. She's evangelizing. Man, and she's the car for Taissa. She's the van. Shauna has her van. Taissa's van is Van.
That's a really yeah, and and then we see this scene between Taissa and Simone where she's terrified of what she's like, you guys have to leave, you need to go out, you have to get away from me. She is actually terrified of what she could do to them. She's not sure. She says to Shauna, I don't know how bad it's going to get this time. So there are things that we don't know that happen between Taissa and Van that have not been revealed, but I think something really bad happened between them. She hurt her somehow. She physically, or, she did something irrevocable. And it's just interesting. I would love to see, we really need that. And I think that's one of the things that's becomes more and more clear, every day. We need that backstory between Ty and Van and whatever happened, why they broke up, what happened. And I'm guessing it's something that happened around the time of Jeff and Shauna's wedding, because we know they were together still at that point in time. They went to the wedding together. But then Shauna says that she hadn't seen Taissa in 20 years or whatever. So
and she becomes okay, so when demons attack people, they can physically attack using sickness, and then sickness as well as covering them. But it's funny because when the fire kills them and they're new, it doesn't mean that they continue to be attacked, but yet this thorn still remains in their flesh. The wooden stakes still remain in their flesh, and their messengers, they verbally attack, influence, deceive, and get at you through those powers. And then the deception. And I mean, the deception with Taissa, she lies to herself. She doesn't even accept her stuff. And I think when she is finally saying this to her and as an adult, and then going out and actually admitting to Shauna, but you can admit, and first thing about any addiction problem, anything that comes your way is admitting that the truth. So this whole thing's about the voice of truth versus deception and lies. And she deceives herself. And even though she says she fears the truth, she fears the reality. She even says, Sammy says I'm the bad one. And she makes herself a victim out of that situation, which, like, instead of accepting that, hey, I am the bad one. Like, so she's still fighting with the truth. She's still fighting against the fear of the truth. She's still living in the deception. She's still blaming other people and victimizing herself and trying to get energy like she did from Van, because with Van, she's like, Van, I need you to be here. And same with in the future with Simone. Like, she is trying to victimize herself, but like not acknowledge that she has a bad part. She denies it, which is why she subjects it and she becomes two people. You have to acknowledge the truth. You have to face it and then step forward. So she's kind of doing that here and with Shauna, but not stepping forward. She's still remaining in it. She's not even dreaming of the other her, what it would be without her. It is what it is with Taissa, but she doesn't see what it is. Like, it doesn't change with Taissa. It's the same thing. It's the same constant. It's the same patterns. It's the same round and round betrayals. It's the same things, thorn in your flesh that does not go away.
What's interesting is, like, she, you know, it's like Taissa knows that her alter self will reject Simone. It's like she knows that in her conscious state. She's like, because she even says that to Shauna. She's like, oh, I don't feel it with Simone. And so it's like
a compromise. It's a whole relationship built on compromise, which is one of the things we're told not to do. We're supposed to live full-heartedly with our truths, never compromise yourself. And with demons, with narcissists, you compromise and you lose yourself, and then you lose your voice. And little by little, they stab at you with every compromise. And every compromise is just her compromising with an ideal facade of who she is. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead, babe. I'm really passionate about this because I understand, like, I don't know, I feel like I connected to this.
Well, that's obviously a battle in life too. I mean, you really can't live without compromise. Like, you have to compromise a little bit, because otherwise you're being too self-important, right? And so life is about compromising. And I feel like Taissa is not very willing to compromise. That's her conscious state, is unwilling to compromise. Like, she is who she is. She wants things the way they are. She likes having Simone because Simone is like her assistant. She likes having, what's her name? Bethany, because Bethany is her assistant. She likes having people looking after her and like being her little minions. And yes, she is like the flying monkeys. Kind of part of like the whole group going with her, because she is capable and like and almost foolhardy in a sense, because she is willing. She's just gonna go for it and thinks that she's the leader no matter what. And she doesn't really her leading this side mission is a perfect example of it, because she was willing to go on her own. And maybe she would have been okay, but you know what? You can't go running off into the woods alone. That's literally like rule number one. If you're any kind of person that goes out into the wilderness, it's very important. Yeah, many of us do it. I've gone hiking alone. Lots of us have. But have you ever watched the movie 28 Days or whatever the heck it's called? 27 hours, where poor James Franco has to cut off his own arm. That's based on a true story. Yeah. But like, that's the reason. You don't go off into the wilderness by yourself, because it's not safe. Things can happen. You could fall. You can hurt yourself. You could break a bone. Eat something so simple. But it's those little things. That's why you need other people. And Taissa, she views other people as like her minions versus like anyone that she's willing to like be a team player with, you know?
Yeah. Well, so this is the doll with Sammy and Samson Delilah and the cutout eyes. So they turn into not just they turn into compromise. So first it's like, you know, they compromise, they get together, they become comfortable. Then she becomes controlling, and then it becomes combating, and it takes over little by little. The narcissist, whatever it is, all these people are her flying monkeys. And like when messengers of evil or narcissists or demonic people take over, they verbally attack, they influence, they deceive, they go after your power, like Delilah finds out what is your weakness, like when she finds out about the other politician's weakness, and they take it against you, ripping out the eyes like Samson and Delilah, and they torment you through like idolatry and things like that. And then what happens is all her flying monkeys, all these people who are under her, they idol her. They idol her as LGBTQ, like, you know, face, a voice, a person who's for, you know, for mixed people and for color. And they idol her in this way that they don't know her. And like, you see her going after the other girl for funding. She finds your weakness and goes. It's such a Delilah spirit. If
well,
you're gonna look up Delilah spirit,
because they call her in the first episode, you're the what does she say? You're the queer Kamala. And I tell you, if you're like, I mean, well, we all have our personal opinions, but if anything, that's not a compliment. So just saying. But it is interesting because it's like what you're saying, like people will idolize someone that's not a good person.
And that's part of like that's part of you know what's going on here, and that's demonic activity when you start to do that and you open those doors and you open the veil, and this is what's happening. And she has demons in her, obviously. I see demons. So if y'all know, look up the spirit of Delilah, and it's a demon that we fight all the time, every day, with the spirit of Jezebel, with other spirits. And it's very cool and very interesting, actually. And you will see what I'm talking about. And it gives a whole other meaning to the man with no eyes. It gives a whole other meaning to Sammy's doll. She treats them all like they're dolls. She treats her people like they're set up in position as her dolls on her playground to become this image, the self-image that she truly is not. But she fights nonstop and will not give up. Even when her love or her wife says, honey, we have problems. You have problems. We cannot be doing this. Don't run for office. She won't let go of her imaginary play kingdom. Imagine her playing dolls, you know? What do you say?
Yeah. I mean, Taissa, she's
political Barbie.
She so wants to be in control of everything. And that really like trickles down into her political sphere. Like she just like it probably, I mean, she's always had that instinct. Like she is very much a control freak, but probably even more so since the accident, since the plane crash, because she's trying to control these things in her life so that she's never put in that powerless position again. You know, even though she thrived, like her alter self, she thrived out there. And even Lottie says that in season 2. She's like, you know, you're that part of you that you try and suppress is actually the part that is so much more connected to everything like in the world. So
yeah. And then here's the other thing. So it's all about the spirit of deception and lies. Like she, obviously we know she lies. She's a liar. That's what like the narcissist, psychopath, sociopath, the dark triads do. But like when you embrace the lies and tactics of others and others' words and others' lies of you. So she gets really mad about the political agenda against her. And then it rims our own truths. And then you fall again and you keep falling down to where you're in the dirt. You're eating the words and eating the dirt, eating the words and dirty things from other people, the slander, all this stuff, all this dirt that's being thrown at you from gossip, slandering, shame, from, you know, all these like demons, the dirt. When you're basically being led by fear, which is an agent of Satan, hell, the dirt, underground, whatever you want to say it. And so that's why I see her eating dirt. She's eating all their words, and that's why she does that.
That's a very interesting take. I like it. I like that a lot.
Yeah, thank you. I like you a lot. I like you a lot, Faye.
Oh, stop. Okay, so we have this scene where they make it back to the cabin, and they're gonna sew up Van's face, and you know, kudos to Akilah, shout out to Akilah, who is able to sew this up. Yeah, anyway, so, and you know what, Trooper Van for like not, you know, for going through this without any antibiotics and no lidocaine while she's getting stitches, personally, her scar heals up incredibly well for someone who had half their face ripped off, but that's just, whatever. So I think she would have had a much gnarlier scar, but also she would have had a rough time, a rough go at this. And also like not having antibiotics, seriously, like she got, like I have scars on my face. I've been bit in the face by a dog because I was a vet tech in my 20s. And literally, like, you need antibiotics. Dog mouths are pretty dirty. Like, I love those people that are like, dogs' mouths are cleaner than human mouths. And it's like, dogs lick their ass and they eat poop. So, no, they're not. But, and they don't brush their teeth every day or anything. So, unless you're a very good pet owner. But, anyways, so I feel like Van, she's got that tough, those tough white trashy genes that really helped her out to fight off this infection. I feel it. I can relate. So
the white genes, but like white is so in the prophetic calling, when you're given in dreams or in situations when you're given a white towel or a white cloak or white piece of linen is when you are receiving the anointing, which is probably why she's healing so well. Because when you receive the anointing, you become you heal, then she becomes the evangelist. I don't know. I'm just saying, though, the white linen has a very significant role in the Bible about prophets. And if we're talking about all this prophet realm and the veils in the spirit realm, I feel like Van's on, the good side, at least for the most of the time, because you can switch and change. Like when you open that door, it's like a shadow projected on a wall. The enemy projects anything through a lie and deception. So there's a lot of lies and deception, and one lie and deception leads to 1,000 more, like we see with Shauna and Thaisa. Mm-hmm. And she's eaten alive and consumed by Thaisa. So the lies is what she ends up living on.
Well, and with, like we were saying, like Thaisa is so connected, like her alter self is so connected to the wilderness, and the wilderness really wants Van to survive. Yeah, there is always this question of like, what does the man with no eyes truly represent? He's not.
I'm telling you, it's Samson and Delilah. I'm telling you, it's
sort of major connection with Thaisa to the wilderness. And so, does she have some sort of say in this? I don't know. Is she really the antler queen? I don't know. There's like these little things that are like, I mean, because Thaisa has a connection to the wilderness that is exceptional, like compared to the other girls, because her connection to the man with no eyes, who's clearly affecting her out there, but also in her city life as well. So I don't know.
I'm really telling you that the story of Samson and Delilah, when they take his eyes and the enemy projects that they have more power. She projects she has more power, like a shadow projected on a wall. You see these things, and it's in the Bible like that, and it's in the words and scriptures and things. And it talks about all of these lies. And it's funny, though, in the wilderness, like Van is eaten by a wolf, which we associate the wolves with Thaisa. We associate that with her character, where literally attacked by that. And like, how weird and random is it? We were talking about last episode about the wolves there. It's not a normal thing how she was attacked. It was attacked after Van gave up and felt comfortable and safe. And Thaisa says, I'll take first watch. I'll watch. I'll carry you. And she trusted her lying deception. And before you know it, this happens. The attacks they get you when you're sleeping, while you were sleeping.
Good point. All right. Well, let's change gears. Okay. And let's talk about, we'll get into Jackie really quick and sort of the drama mongering that she gets up to this episode.
So mad about that.
What's that?
I'm mad at her.
Oh.
So I'm going to start with this. Jackie is, because we were talking about hindering spirits, it's really a thing. Jackie is a hindering spirit. She's there hindering the love and connection between Nat and Travis, and telling slander, lies, gossip, making up suggestions, which gets into Travis's head and creates a blockage so that Nat can't get it on. And it makes me like, also the prophets, they're blocked from fleshly matters. Like I see Nat in this episode, she's walking on water to go see Coach Ben. Nat's the voice of truth, as so we find out. So like she kind of is the queen. She's got that like prophetic calling. She's walking on water. She's having that great she's being denied the flesh in her body. Meanwhile, Jackie is struggling to survive, so she's going into the flesh. She's starting to initiate any power she has, which is like this getting the only attention Jackie gets is like from guys a lot of the time. So she's going to that to find attention because she's feeling worthless. And then not only is she doing that, she's going after someone else's man and also like, you know, telling slander, making it.
Well, I was saying it like the whole thing with the bees, like how they attack the queen, right? And so yeah. I think, and we talked about this, I think last episode or maybe a couple episodes ago, where there's that scene with Jackie or with Jackie and Nat where they're like in the sunlight and they're like going at each other, and that's the thing. It's like those two are really at each other's throats. And I do think that Jackie is the queen bee right now. Obviously, she's the captain of the soccer team. And even though she's not thriving out there in the wilderness, she still maintains that like authoritative position over the other girls. They view her as a leader in a sense, even though she's pretty damn worthless out there. But it is interesting because those two, again, they're going at it like, they're down at the beach, and Jackie doesn't need to be as nasty as she is about Nat in those situations. Like, I mean, it's one thing if you let it slip that like, oh, you know, she was hooking up with some guy, but it's a whole other thing where you're just sitting there and you're like, she has low standards and, you know, just basically dogging on Nat and saying she's out banging around. She's missing soccer practice, yada, yada. She's just like, it was rather inappropriate, pretty low blows for like what she actually, you know, could have said or been like a girl's girl or something in that situation. But
yeah, women lift each other up, support each other. This is exactly the kind of behavior we don't need. Okay, we need to love each other, women, and we need to like be a voice. And Jackie, like obviously feeling her insecurities, Nat is thriving, so of course she's going to attack it where it hurts. And this is what hindering spirits do. This is what demons do. They attack you where it hurts. And this is another thing I noticed. So when Nat is very in the water, she's literally in the water, like with the moves, with everything. She's always in the water. With walking to Coach Ben in this episode, it literally looks like she's walking on water. Jackie never gets in the water. You know, so the water, you know, being representative of getting into the spirit, she denies it. She denies it. Jackie denies the truth. Jackie lies, she goes on, you know, she's also, you know, I gotta say Jackie's probably feeling pretty hurt right now. So I think she's going to hurt someone else's love or whatever love she can hurt because hers was hurt. So she's in defensive mode. So I don't want to like hate her too much, but like, it just sucks is how we behave and we need to like, you know, change that. And
well, it is, yeah, like even though she's like the leader or whatever, she's still sitting out there like by herself, kind of pouting. You know, where's Shauna? Where is like somebody else in her little entourage to be out there, you know, feeding her grapes and fanning her, right? Like, so it is interesting. She's sitting out there, and Travis is really the only person that talks to her at all. So yeah, she's kind of and
hurt people
down, and because of finding out about Jackie, or I mean about Shauna and Jeff, and so she ends up later, you know, when Van is there, she's getting her stitches and all, and then that inspires Laura Lee to try and leave, to try and go find them help, and Jackie ends up like telling Shauna's secrets, and she's like, well, the rest of the group really needs to know this. And she kind of does this condescending act with Shauna where she's like, you know, this is for the benefit of the baby and yada yada, because she knows the secret. And so she's like, are you going to tell me? Like everybody knows she knows that Shauna's lying. She knows that Shauna's a terrible liar and that she's not being truthful, that it was Randy who fathered the baby or what have you. And she's like, how long is it going to take? Like, what's it going to take for you to actually tell the truth? Or am I going to have to like confront you like she already had to do just to find out that Shauna was pregnant? You know, Shauna plays these little games and
she's deception.
There's a serious situation. You're pregnant. We're stuck out here. You've been lying to me. There's more lies that you're not, you know, coming clean on. Like, what's the deal? What's it going to take? When did you decide you stop wanting to be my best friend? You know?
Well, yeah, lies, just it's a spiral of chaos. It really is. And I love this thing about hurt people. But let me tell you, we're not battling against flesh and blood. We're battling against spirits and principalities. We're battling against pain, betrayal, fear, principalities of, you know, we have to remember that people are run by these things and sometimes not even being known it. And in this, we see the spirit realm and people are literally taking on some demons and run by these things. I also wanted to shout out another comment because I didn't see it. This is a great citizen detective work right here. Welcome to the dollhouse centered on Ty. I didn't even put that together. Awesome comment. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Her little dollhouse. She's putting the people where she wants them. You go in this room. You sit at this table. Yeah, that's her. Yeah. That's how her mind works. All right. So then we get to this scene later where they're starting to get the plane ready, and I'm kind of saving that conversation until the end, to talk about like Laura Lee's flight. But Jackie, you know, she's sitting there and Shauna gets all mad and she's like, why did you tell everyone about this? And Jackie, again, she's like, well, now it's not the time for keeping secrets. Like she's poking the bear. She's poking the bear, and she's trying to get that reaction so that Shauna will actually be honest about what happened, but also like, then Shauna can't get out of like her lies that she's created. So, I mean, I don't blame Jackie for like playing it the way that she is, but it's not.
I mean, I would just
have, you know?
No, she has the choice to go up to Shauna. What the hell? Like,
true.
If when I find out the truth, I say it and I mean it and I confront people. And that's probably why a lot of people have a turn off from me. You know, I'm a little bit intense. I'm a lot of much, but that's me. That's the real me. And I'm very truthful. And it's actually part of it has to deal with my hyperactivity autism because I just like say things that I say whatever and people are like, you should sugarcoat that more. Nah, you should, like, if I don't do it, you're doing too much, Mandy. Nah, you're not doing enough. And I'm sorry, Jackie is calling Shauna out that way. And I would have been like, Shauna, you fuck Jeff? Or you F Jeff? I would have probably hit her in the face, actually.
Yeah, I mean,
right up to her, hit her with her damn journal
is remarkable. So we can give her kudos for that.
And that's a demon right there, not having self-control. But I would have gone up with her with the journal and smacked her across the face.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Jackie's playing it. Yeah, you know, spirit of confusion, I guess. Again, spirits and principalities, denials, betrayal, confusion, hindering spirits. There are lots of things there that you can go forever about it. But yeah.
Speaking of hindering spirits,
I have to use the restroom. I'll be right back.
Oh, okay. Well, speaking of hindering spirits, Misty, we can talk about her for a moment. Misty, and we'll get into talking about Nat after this, but Misty's been, she's got Jessica Roberts down in the basement still. They're watching their game shows and eating scrambled eggs and just hanging out. And then she's spying on Nat in Nat's hotel room, and Nat is spiraling. She is struggling with her own vices, and she's relapsing. And so Misty is watching this through her little camera that she has planted over at Nat. Yes. So Misty Nat, this is classic Misty Nat. All right. So she sees that Natalie is there and she's been relapsing. She's drinking again. And then she goes and she calls her dealer and she buys a bag of cocaine. And so hopefully YouTube doesn't care if I use that word, but we'll say cocaine instead. Thank you, American Dad. Okay, so so yeah,
it's that white girl.
Yeah. So she rushes over to Nat's house when she sees her on the camera buying the bag, and so she rushes over there. And I mean, it's just the perfect Misty Nat moment where she busts in on her and she snorts her lines. And she just like, you know, Misty's never done anything of that nature. And I just love that scene. It's so funny with her just like charging in there. And Nat's, what I love about it is Nat is drunk. So Misty just comes in and she just pushes Nat over, and Nat just falls like, la, la, like Jack Sparrow just sprawling, you know, like what the hell? And yeah, it's just hilarious. And then she's like, you know, that was $300 worth of, and Misty's like, I'll Venmo you. Don't worry about it. But she does have some good points. Like, you know, when they get into that argument after that, where Misty, she's like, you know, I'm the only person that really cares about you. I'm watching you. Yeah, it's a little weird, but I'm also looking out for you. And this is where, you know, we really see like Misty is so dedicated to Nat. She's definitely like in service to the queen, right? This is just all of Misty's like moves, and her whole MO is she's protecting the queen. She's in service to the queen. Anything that Natalie needs, she's there. And we don't know that Natalie is the queen yet, but now looking back, it is like such a more unique dynamic that they have, because clearly everything that Misty is doing is just in service to Nat, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I disagree. Like, I think that she is not only a hindering spirit, monitoring spirit. She's ruled by fear. She's ruled by betrayal. She's ruled by mocking. She's ruled by trying to get in there. She wants to be part of the team. And like, this is another thing with the Delilah. The Delilah spirit literally cuts your strength, cuts your cords, cuts in, and she'll come at you and she'll tell you she's doing these things because she loves you, because she's caring about you, but she's not accepting the truth that she is invading her personal space, that she's crossing boundaries, that she's spying on her, that she's monitoring her. She's justifying her bad behavior as a form of love that is like a twisted love in her hat. And that's like, what the hell? No, it's not. But like, Nat's still loving about it. But I don't think that, like, I mean, I guess I don't know if she's protecting her, but it's like Misty's so codependent that she has to try to control the narrative, control her, control the situation, you know, even kind of go, I don't know what to say. Like she's just so not, I don't think it's love. Agree. It's a twisted version of love. And it's like, they'll use your love for them against you in a sense. And it's like, it's kind of the opposite of that, where she's creating that web, she's doing that influence, and she's kind of also like in the meanwhile, like, okay, so Samson Delilah again, they put Samson in these cuffs, these bronze cuffs, and what is Misty doing to Jessica? Bronze cuffs. She, you know, they have this whole blocking spirit where she hands you over to the enemy, and that's what actually she ends up doing. She ends up handing it over and ends up killing Nat because she hands it over to the enemy, and in a sense, and I don't know, I kind of feel like she's setting it up to hand her over to Lottie long-term. I do think Misty's working for Lottie, or Misty is working unconsciously for Lottie, like, you know, because someone behind the scenes, or Walter, is pulling all the strings to create more lies and deception, more justifications, more thoughts. Like, she's controlling her by bank accounts, by all these notes, by all these things, and giving her all these things to create this like uncertainty and this
well, because even Jessica knows that there's someone else in this mix as well, because she says, you know, that that she's the one that reveals that it was Travis's bank account was closed by someone the day after he died. So she doesn't know who, or she hasn't confessed who it is. And so that leaves Misty to try and like figure that out.
Yeah, they create anxiety, panic, stress, fear. She's cutting the cords of the car. She's using all of whatever she has. They'll like they're lurking in the dark. They'll wait until you're having a sleep or lying in bed. She's lurking at you. You know, she's projecting. They come in the moment of vulnerability, which is Nat's addiction, and she comes making you think that she has power. That's how like the enemy, lies, Satan, this is a work of deception, evil. Deception is the key. Deception is the main tool. And then even like in the Bible stuff, it says Jesus is talking about the main thing is deception, deceive. That's like the worst thing that can happen. So she's deceiving her the whole way. Not only she's deceiving her, she's deceiving herself, which we see in their healing processes. And Missy creates confusion. She's like an intrusive thought. She's like, you know what I mean? She like agitates, controls, like, torments. She torments, agitates, controls, accuses.
When I was watching season 1, I felt a lot like the first time I was watching it, I felt a lot more of that from Misty, a lot of confusion, like what's her deal? What's she going to do? But now looking back, knowing more about like season 2 and everything, I feel less and less like that. Like, I don't feel like Misty is necessarily in control or pulling the strings or anything like that. I think Lottie has been doing a lot of those things. And whether like there's
I think Lottie's been setting like seeds for them to try to feed off of.
Yeah. You know, and she knows like lies. Lottie's been setting sort of traps, Lottie's web, okay, where she's setting these sort of situations up because it's just like how she has her people watching Nat. She sends people to watch Nat after Travis's death because she knows that that's going to trigger Natalie to be suicidal or have a relapse or, you know, something or another. And again, going back to like with Lottie's web, I feel like the men are all kind of interwoven, like whether it's Adam, whether it's Travis, or if it's Walter. So and going with Adam again, even in this episode, he confesses that he has a friend who lives up in the Poconos and we could go stay at a cabin and yada, yada. So like, I think that Adam was sent as like a trap. And I wanted to point out one thing about Adam in this episode where like, when Callie finds the wallet, his little wallet, his money clip that has his ID and everything, which clearly is not a real ID. Okay. But when they came in the house, like we are fairly aware of how Shauna's house is set up and they're in the, and granted, there's a chance they went onto the couch and were like messing around. But honestly, it seems like they went right to the bedroom because it was like already like 4 or 5 in the morning because they'd been out doing the heist. Adam's there and they go in, they hook up, they fall asleep in the bedroom. It just doesn't seem like there was this chance. Like, I feel like the money clip was planted by the couch, the one that Callie and it just seems like it's like another attempt to sort of like recreate these situations that they were in that were triggering them, that sort of that all kind of surround the circumstances surround the wilderness, right?
Yeah. So that's like the prophetic chaos and like these things happen and like so stuff like that. Your bedroom is like when you sit in bed and you try to connect, it's considered a place of like a temple. It's considered a sanctuary in the highest place. And your bed becomes an altar. And in the spirit realm, when you have sexual intercourse, when you connect with people, you're connecting not only to that person, but to their demons. You're connecting soul ties in the spirit realm. And people talk about this where you are literally connected forever. Sometimes generations are connected through spirits, but you are opening your body, your temple, to another person's temple, and you're sharing whatever demons and good things they have. So then the fact that they went there and they defiled the altar of her and Jeff, and then also opened up a new door, an altar for a whole other realm of these spirits, which then we see after this is when Shauna gets these spirits of confusion, spirits of fear, more things come at her, these hindering spirits. And they come and
all that. Yeah.
And more lies. And it's funny because she doesn't want to, she never gave any information to Adam, but yet she's demanding I get all of this stuff. Hey, Moni, we're sharing spirits with you, Moni. Literally.
Thank you for letting us in your bed.
Stop. Hindering spirits put you in a place of frustration, a place there you have no faith. You're frustrated, and they obstruct you, they block you, they stop you, and they take away from you, and they block the way.
That's what I was thinking. Actually, it's so funny that you say that.
Wait, let me tell you.
Well, I was just rewatching the episode this morning, and that's exactly what I was thinking about Adam when Shauna's sitting there calling the colleges and doing all this like sleuth work. I'm like, what a bunch of BS. Like that in and of itself just says like what level of human he is, because you're sitting there, your time, every person's time is valuable, and she's sitting there spending her time sleuthing after this guy who has a fake ID that's infiltrated her life and her house. And her daughter has to be the one to point it out and be like, and this is another interesting thing for Callie. She's the one that's running defense. She's like, he could be using you, he could be lying. Like there's no information on him. He could be lying to you, trying to get a story so that he can, get information on the Yellowjackets, yada, yada. And Shauna is the one who's so blind. She's like, he just wants me for me, but really like clearly there's something more going on. So anyways.
Well, she was trying to get confirmation from Callie and then justifying her bad behavior about bringing someone into her father's altar, the temple. So like also in the scriptures, it talks about when they were building the temple, like these people or building their home, they were sent on these assignments to destroy the temple. So, but like Callie comes at her and talks about these things. And then when she's trying to justify it, she uses it. Well, I am doing this and like, at least I'm doing something. And Callie's like, she just walks out of the room. She doesn't even give her the voice.
Yeah. No, I love that. Callie's protecting. She says, who said, now you're just letting him come inside our house, which we're going to talk about that.
Drop your video. Can someone drop her video? Here, I'll do it.
No, she's protecting their house. She's protecting their history, their legacy. Like her mom obviously has some sort of sacred wisdom or knowledge, whether Callie realizes it or not. She knows she has some sort of information within her that is exploitable. And Callie still doesn't know the secrets of it or anything like that, but she's still that protective over her own mom and her own family, where she's like, you don't just let some guy come inside our house and try and exploit you to like get this information. Callie's like, Callie's a savage. She will not put up with that. I love it.
Well, I also love that Shauna here again with her lies. She's trying to manipulate control. She manipulated Adam's body. She manipulated now her home. She tries to manipulate her daughter, and she's just controlled by that. And it's interesting and exhausting. Not only that, she's mocking, which is, one of the things that evil spirits will do, or their spirits sent by the devil will do. They'll lie to you, they'll mock you and say, or like they'll, try to do that. And I don't think it's like, you want to get to know me. They're trying to catch, she's like trying to catch me lying. Adam says, isn't it? And she's like, it's crazy that you lie. Isn't that a projection of hers? Because like, how crazy is it that you made that up to lie? But meanwhile, look at all the lies we've seen in her repertoire. And beyond that, it's like,
well, just like
she's like, I want to open.
Like our whole thing is built on lies and secrets.
Well, that's when they finally start accepting the truth, because that's what I think it is in this whole thing, is that the lie, deception. I think that's what it is personally. But like, so another thing that got me here is like, she wants him to be an open book. They talk about open books, and open books are not Shauna's thing. Her things are private journals and putting things in the closet. Being open, Adam waiting outside her house triggers into her narcissistic rage. She goes off on him. Then he takes her over. So it could have gone one or two ways, but then she goes off and she destroys her house. She destroys her temple, and then puts him in the closet too. So not only does she have all these things in the closet, but he made her mad. And then now he brings her in, opening another door for the household, which not only is it's affecting her entire household.
Moni, that's not too bad. Killing the rabbits and cooking and eating them. Could be worse things. But
and then like the temptation is judged. Like, the temptation is looking away, and then now she's doing something. And it's an interesting dichotomy that she's kind of trapped in. And Callie looks at her badly no matter what she chooses. And to Shauna's defense, even up to this point, she still believes that Jeff is cheating on her, the whole inventory database thing. Like, she still believes that. But, it was so funny. And some of my people watching might understand this. But
when Shauna was like grasping for her little like arguments to Callie and everything. It was funny. It reminded me of in Fire and Blood, Sarah Targaryen. When she gets caught with like she's been out kissing a bunch of boys. And and there's
Georgie
this
Porgy
like, scene of her where she's like lying and just trying to like reel back, like she's reeling from all the exposing all the lies and everything, and she just acts like a total fool, and it's just so funny. That's what this whole scene was making me think of, Sarah Targaryen. But yeah, it's interesting. Like Shauna, she's setting a bad example for Callie, and Callie is showing that she is more protective over their family than even Shauna is, or at least she like lives life with her eyes a little bit more open. She points out that Adam doesn't have any information online at all, and that's awesome for Callie, because Callie, she finds this ID and the first thing she thinks of, well, let me Google this guy. Let me see what's his Instagram page. What's his, this or that. He's got to have some sort of self-promotion, and there's nothing there. And there's still like the theory of, Adam is Javi. That's kind of happening at this point. So like,
and my theory that Adam doesn't exist at all, maybe. And actually, so I thought more about this when Thais and her are sharing fantasies and talking about Adam. And then Thaisa ends up helping to cut and do stuff. Huh?
He's a mime.
Yeah, and they talk about the Francois or stuff, but like, a silent voice, someone that doesn't exist. Adam might be a silent voice in Shauna's head, but like with their shared trauma, and you can have a shared trauma and you can create active imagination and these things, these inner voices, or actually like angels or spirit beings to share with your groups, people like Thaisa in the group that don't really exist. I mean, I don't know. I know we get the whole news lines and things later on, but I just think it's kind of really cool because I feel like it builds that shared fantasy, and it also builds narcissistic ties and bonds between Shauna and her mom. I mean, Shauna and her and Callie, and then also rebuilds the bond of Thaisa and Shauna in this shared fantasy where they talk about it being love. And it's so funny because people like that, they do not, narcs and like psychopathic dark triad narcs, ones that are so dark and live on basis of lies like Shauna and Thaisa, they really do not have emotional intelligence. They're not able to love. And when they see some love, they already equipped it in their brain as a warning, as a trigger, as something that is that they need to protect themselves with. Their whole brain is wired to protect themselves. So it ends up being something it's not love, it's it. It's the same thing as an attack for them. It's literally proven scientifically. It's so crazy because to me, like they share this again fantasy, and the difference between Shauna and Thaisa are, Shauna's kind of over. Shauna is she's caught in the dream, where Thaisa is like only her dream. Like her image is only the dream, where Shauna is a victim of her dream in a sense.
Yeah.
Who knows?
And that could play into that idea that she doesn't really accurately like remember a lot of things that happened to her, which we kind of talked about in last week's stream, because I think that's a thing where she's blacking out certain things. So that could be playing into it.
And here's the thing with this whole saint and being tragic, like as a saint in their martyrs, she's becoming a martyr to her dream. You know what I'm saying? Like she kind of uses that as like justification of why she didn't do all these things that she could have done instead of just sitting her, like, she uses it as becoming a martyr and victim as the saint, which she loves. They're so tragic. So she lives there.
I don't think Shauna overplays her like victim status. She just kind of hides away, but like because it doesn't seem like she's even conscientious of it. If she was trying to play up her victim status, then I think she would be like more willing to talk or even more open with like her own family and like playing that off. But she doesn't even seem like
she does though. She becomes a victim of just facade cheating. She becomes a victim of being stuck. She becomes a victim of Callie my Callie doesn't do this. And she talks, I mean, in this episode, Taissa talks about being a victim of her son, but she becomes, well, Callie, what do you want me to do? At least I'm doing something. Like, and she tries to do it. Like, it's a subtle suggestion and lie in her sense, but again, it's that martyr mentality of the saint. And it's tragic. Yellow. Oh wow! Wait, she's wearing yellow here too.
She is, yeah. And it's interesting because this is she goes to his house. She's wearing yellow, and then well, we won't get too far ahead of ourselves, but we know what happens in episode 9, and then she goes to the graduation, and she's wearing purple. So I'm just saying there is some symbolism happening here, and it's called life, death, rebirth. Okay. So
hello, heliotrope, Apollo.
The 3 sides of the triangle in the symbol. Okay.
But isn't it interesting? She gives the yellow to Adam, but not to Jeff. She withholds and controls power from Jeff. And Jeff is a nice.
And that's why Jeff has to live and be like such a little like himbo all the time. He's like, well, but like he doesn't get
Jeff is. He's it's comfortable. He's holding on to the past life.
I mean, maybe he's going to be sacrificed for all we know.
He's comfortable in the lie. He's holding on to the image. He's holding on to the marriage into royalty. So like he's trying to play the part. He's doing what he knows how to do. So, it wasn't a bad thing. It was just Jeff trying to be nice. I mean, I don't know, like my ex-husband, whatever it is, husband, ex-husband, he always gets all my shit wrong. He gets everything wrong. Like, and I'm like, honey, okay. But it's at least it's the gesture that counts in a sense. But he's thinking about high school and what it was. And I think that dress was also like, it's funny because in my mind, his version of them is all sparkles.
Yeah, you married
just in the closet. Royalty. Just in the closet of the sparkle image.
He's like, everyone's going to be looking at you, or you're going to be turning heads no matter what. And all this. And I was like, that's such a weird thing to say. I mean, yeah, it is like, oh, that's a nice compliment, but like, also, it's just such a weird, like, it's such a weird crown for Shauna to have to wear, because it's once again living in Jackie's shadow, and she's just like it's not even on her mind that they have to go and do this thing. And so it's just kind of interesting.
Well, all that glitters is gold. And that's why I said the sparkle, like the glitter and everything, it's all in the closet. It's not the true Shauna. But yet here she is kind of being that.
Well,
she's trying to...
She goes and basically she confronts Adam, and she's like, so why didn't you tell me more about your college days and yada yada, trying to weasel out some truth from him. And finally he's like, yeah, I lied. And he confesses to lying, to saying that he had a girlfriend who went to Pratt, the art school he said he went to. And he was trying to impress her. And I thought that was just kind of fun. He's like, did it work?
And I also like, oh, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no. It's just, yeah. So he's trying to impress her, trying to catch her eye, saying the right things. And so again, it kind of feeds into this idea that he's not being honest. He's not presenting himself honestly. And his ID is clearly fake. All of this stuff is fake about him. And I personally just think it all like ties back to Lottie. When you really think about it.
And this is where we get introduction about his brother and the anus book and like all that stuff, which we think is Walter maybe. But I also like, I know it wasn't in this episode, but like this whole open book thing, and this Shauna's not in the open book, she's in the private journals and all this stuff. Like, I think it's funny because when she starts going through his stuff and opening his drawers and closets, opening his secrets, she finds a book. Is what kills him. So is this foreshadowing Shauna's and her journals? Because I really feel like the whole Carl Jung and journals, and Shauna's going to end up being famous through her journals and through the murder of him anyway. So,
well, she says that even to Javi. She's like, "Oh, someday someone can publish my journals and I'll be famous."
Yes,
something to that effect. Yeah.
Exactly. So
yeah. I love Walter is Adam's brother theory. Yeah, I know. That's a good theory. I'm still not over it. Okay. I haven't been convinced that it's not real. And Walter is the anus book man.
And we look at him like
makes sense.
We look at him like Poseidon, and I also like the trident, the devil's trident, the three. Like, there's a lot to that. The whole scepter thing. Nat's gun is a scepter. There's a lot of symbolism going on with Walter. I love Walter. He's honestly, if you Walt Havocsham is like for life for me.
Oh yeah,
Devil creates havoc. It's all
Walter.
about
it's so funny because like if you go on Twitter, like the little Yellowjackets fandom girls, I mean, most of them are like super young and they don't understand why all of us are so committed to Elijah Wood as Walter. You don't get it, girls. Okay.
That's you gotta read the book.
All right. Elijah Wood is precious. Okay. So don't let anything happen to him. We must protect Walter. He's obviously someone important. I feel like he's like the prince of this story. He's the Holy Grail or some sort of, he's Galahad or something of that nature. He's the key. He knows something. And like him being like a rich benefactor or whatever, there's just something there. There's something.
Well, I mean, he could be the good son.
Yeah,
hiding in a bowl. Wasn't he in like? Hold on. What was the one about? It had the books. Was it the page man, the page master? Was that him? No, or that was Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah.
There was something in the cabinet. Oh, the Indian in the cupboard. Was that him?
No.
Let me look. I gotta look up.
That wasn't him. But
the Adventures of Huck Finn. There was something like that was when he was a kid that was like, okay, anyway.
Casper?
Flipper, Poseidon. I don't know.
No, that was Evan Sawa.
Oh wait, hey, he's in a movie called.
I mentally like interject Elijah Wood into anything.
I love this. He's in a movie called Try 17, Chain of Fools, which we're seeing right here. And the Bumblebee Flies Away. He's in a movie called that.
Interesting.
The Bumblebee Flies Away. I've never heard of that movie, but it's goes with the whole theme today. Flight of the Bumblebee.
Walt Havocsham, the master benefactor of whatever. Anyways, Great Expectations.
Well, I mean, how crazy is it that the Bumblebee flies away? Like, I mean, he's everything.
Enigma.
He's everywhere.
There's something going on with him. He's, his boat being called Great Expectations. I mean, he's a citizen detective. He could have a false identity like Adam here. Mm-hmm. I mean, who knows?
The Toxic Avenger. He's into another one called No Man of God, goes to this one. So Come to Daddy. Hey, I like that. Anyway.
Anyways, Elijah Wood rabbit hole. Okay, so and while we're on this note, so yes, I have this theory. What, you let him come inside your house, Mom? Okay, so the theory is, and we'll just talk about this briefly because I did make a video on it. If you guys want to check out the video, I think Mandy's gonna post it. But basically, there's a lot of hints that Adam came inside this house, if you know what I'm saying. And
demons. Anytime you open your door to anything, demons or people, you bring their demons into your house. And I'm literally finding that out right now, opening my house to
Thaisa. She says to her in the next episode also, where she says, holy shit, Shauna, you let this guy come inside your house? And so there's just something there, like, to letting him inside the house, letting him come inside the house. I really think that that Shauna might be pregnant again, okay? Because that's a theme of this story, and these sort of repetitive, like, triggers that are coming up for these women, whether it's Thaisa, whether it's Misty, whether it's Nat, these things that are triggering them, and especially Lottie, that we find out in season 2, but these things that will trigger them, that take them back to that mind frame that they were in when they went into the woods, into the wilderness, as their triggers to sort of bring them back to that wild state. And whoever's sort of facilitating like the postcards and just sort of the, like, if it's Lottie or if it's someone else that's sending these men their way, or like, you know, sort of the trickle down effect of Travis's death in essence, and how it's sort of forcing these women to react, a forced reaction to it.
Did I post it? So conveniently, you made this video 9 months ago.
Oh, did I?
Woo! We're making babies up in here. Making demon babies.
Moni, I talked about this earlier before you got here, but yes, I know. Well, and even this idea comes into that, because let me tell you, I think there's like this like birth symbolism that's going on with like the whole thing in True Detective. There's so much womb, the womb of the world, and things are coming apart at the seams. Okay. That's like such birth wording. Okay. Anyways.
So we're not true detectives up in here. We're citizen detectives. Let's get this straight. Okay.
You know what? Misty is our true detective of the citizen detectives, I think. But anyways, but so yeah, so
Sammy the sleuth.
Sleuth, yes.
So
what's Misty's name? It's like Gray. What's African Gray?
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, so yeah, so Adam, Shauna is pregnant. I think that's that's my theory, and actually I had a lot of people like that video. So yeah, I do think there's something to that, because especially considering like the younger timeline versus the older timeline, and season 2, this still might be an option, because season 2 literally happens like days after season 1, like in the timeline. So like, you know, the whole stuff with Adam happens, then they go to the their reunion and all of that, and then like just a few days later is when the next part, you know, when the season 2 timeline takes place. So there's still this chance like that Shauna could be pregnant and she doesn't, you know quite yet. And also that could be contributing to like her erratic behavior, like taking a gun and going and holding up this guy just for her minivan. You know, like when you're pregnant, you do crazy stuff. Okay.
So look, like we're having another hindering spirit meltdown here.
No, not the machine. But yeah, so anyway, so there's something to it. I made the video. I made it 9 months ago, so I'm a little foggy on the details. But if you guys want to go watch it, just let me know what your thoughts are. And yeah, I think there's something there.
Seems like such a long time ago now.
I know. My God, it's been almost a year since season 2. Every
day stuff changes for me. It's just crazy. So
it's been a wild year, you guys. It really has, you know, and I'm so grateful because I've got this whole new fandom of Yellowjackets people in this past year. So anyways, I just love all you guys. So thank you. If you've came to my channel through Yellowjackets, or if you were here before or whatever. But anyways, thank you guys for watching our silly little streams.
So what do you want to talk about next?
Okay, let's move on. Sorry, we're just trolling. Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about Taissa, I suppose.
No, I mean, we've pretty much talked about her. Like, I feel...
Well, just this brief... So she goes to Shauna's house, basically. So she's struggling. You know, we kind of talked about the whole thing with Simone, but she goes to Shauna's house because she's just really... Sorry, my lights are flickering. Hopefully the Wi-Fi won't cut out. Okay.
Well, it's funny. These two become codependent. They have such a tight relationship where they feel like they can share their weaknesses, but like I feel like it's funny because they aren't codependent with anyone else. Like, you know, they don't allow it like this, or they don't open up. But I think that they do just because
they kind of like you know, there's no judgment in their relationship, which is nice because they can confess their wrongdoings. And we even get that in the younger timeline with these two, because once they're back at the cabin, Thaisa is really struggling with what happened. She says, you know, Van getting hurt. She says she came because I was going, and then she got hurt because I was going, you know? And so she feels at fault for the entire thing. And again, going back to, like, she's struggling because she's terrified that whatever happened with her and Van, which is, you know, increasingly looking like something violent or dangerous may have taken place with Thaisa's alter self.
I mean, it starts that way, though. Like, it's not looking, it started that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, imagine, okay, think about this. Think about,
you're right. It's leading up to the whole repeated betrayal and repeated trauma and abuse pattern. Yeah.
Exactly. These
tides are turning. The turning.
Mm-hmm. And imagine, like, the way that she behaves with Sammy, which she knows she's torturing him. She's like, man, I'm effing this kid up. But, like, think about from Van's perspective. What if she was doing some weird shit like that when she was with Van? Do you think she's just sitting there, like, outside the window watching her? Or, like, you know, because Sammy's at the point where he's closing all the curtains and he won't go, you know, he won't look out the window. He's got pictures up on the window because he's terrified to look out the window in case the bad one's out there. So imagine, like, if she was doing some weird stuff like that to Van also, or, like, you know, Van, like, gets to the point where she's like, you need, like, professional help or something like that, you know? Like, I don't know exactly what point it got to, but clearly it was bad enough that they broke up. And that's saying a lot for, like, everything that they've gone through together. So, so this fear that Thaisa has clearly stems back to, like, the guilt she feels over whatever she did to Van. That forced them to break up or end their relationship. But yeah, so she's really terrified, and she knows she let Biscuit out, and she knows that she's messing up Sammy, and it's all just bad. And so, you know, Shauna says, you can spend the night and we'll sleep in Callie's room. And Callie has this weird poster that says, keep calm, you can still marry Harry, which I think is, you know, obviously about Prince Harry. But anyway,
why is Callie gone every night? Like she's gone the night Shauna's bringing Adam in the house. She's gone the night Thais is here. Does Callie really exist, honestly? Or is it part of Shauna that she never had? Because, like, we see this whole in season 2. I'm not even sure if she really exists.
Man, your imaginary character series is out the door.
It's not just that. Like in the Bible, God sends you people to help you and guide you. Spirit guides, spirit, you know, attacks. There are spirit guides there that there are spirit guides that physically manifest a lot when they're voices of truth, voices of reason to guide you on your path. Like, I think that Lisa might be, because she speaks the word, she speaks the scripture, she speaks through help. She wants to help you and guide you, and they're there when you need them the most. And, like, it's just funny because I don't know, like, I know I'm making, I like to think these things, but, like, I think that, not saying that they are not officially, but I think that they're representative. These characters are representative of the inner voices of the main characters. I really do. It makes sense.
I mean, I guess I can see where you're coming from. I just think that it's, like, very insane that, like, that I just don't think they would include that unless this entire thing ends with all of the women have been locked in a mental facility the entire freaking time.
I mean, don't you feel that way sometimes, though? Like, sometimes I think it's like, are these people going to be still, like, dying in the plane? And these are, like, you know, shared projections.
Yeah, but that would be very, like, Lost of them, you know? And I think people really hated that about Lost. So that's why I'm hoping, I mean, there's still the chance, you know, because there are a lot of shared themes with Lost, but I think that people really hated the way that Lost ended in that way. And also, The Wilds kind of did that exact same thing with their show, where it's all, like, kind of a controlled experiment on these girls who have trauma of their own or don't really have trauma. I don't even know what was the point, like, the girls that they chose on The Wilds.
It's like, okay, so this is from the Bible, John 14:26. When the Father sends the advocate as a representative, or the Holy Spirit, or a person manifesting as a Holy Spirit. So maybe these people are real, but they're manifesting through spirits. He will teach you everything and remind you of everything. Mm-hmm. He teaches you the truth if you do not know the works, or they let them lead. They let them drive. Oh, like Lisa, let her drive. And you will know the truth because they're sound teachers, and then you receive. And then the lives reveal themselves, and the enemy or wilderness is like a bully. And resist it and you flee. And it's like the truth that contradicts the enemy and lie. Like it talks about like whole, the lies and just accepting the truth. And that's in the healing process. That's in the Carl Jung. That's in the whole gold box syndrome. That's in all the healing techniques that go on with Lottie. In any kind of self-help and healing, we have all these things. And the Bible says the only way to heal is through the blood. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on here. Whether you believe it or not.
Really, actually, now that I said that, it would be a really interesting ending if they were all locked in a mental facility together, like this whole time.
Well, and there are shared fantasies and there are projections, and you become like the whole group think and the whole projected trauma and what we, it's a spirit, it's a principality. Like when you start inciting fear or consuming others and consuming not only their bodies, but their brains, their spirits, their things, you become one. And they are one, they're a team. And, they're fighting against each other. The wooden stakes, they're all in the pit. I think the pit is all of them. I think the antler queen is a deception. It's a lie, because it's like the shadow on the wall it projects things through lies. And, they all are at the stake. They're all putting themselves in the pit through all these lies. And it's not a thing. Like, it's just, yeah, you get stabbed. It's a two-edged sword, the truth. And they're all being stabbed and they're not denying. Like, once Nat accepts the truth, she ends up, going on. And she finds the peace and she knows what she has to do.
Moni, sorry. I looked up, I had to look up this poster because I guess it was like a thing. But I mean, what was funny is it's not timing accurate. Like Callie would have gotten this, and maybe that's just like a hint at sort of their status financially or whatever. But this poster that she has, the Keep Calm and Marry Harry, that was like a common little slogan or whatever. I want to say, and when I looked it up, it was in 2012-ish or somewhere in that region. And so it's just, because I went down this rabbit hole of why does she have that poster? What does it mean? What's the meaning behind it? And the best I can kind of come up with is just it's old. She's had it for a long time and it's outdated, intentionally, but just as another little nod to their financial state or whatever. I like Callie's room. I love the little details in there. There's a lot of
you mean Jackie's room?
Yeah, Jackie's room, exactly.
But can I go back to this truth thing? So the enemy lies or evil lies, and every man has their lies, and searching for the truth becomes a lifestyle where you project glory to glory, or the things you do, your own glories. And when you want the truth, you have to choose to believe it. And so that's what's going on here. Is Thais is not believing the truth. They're not accepting it. And you choose to believe the truth, and your belief in truth is a commitment, and it becomes a free choice. You're given free choice to do these things, and you're given free choice to help. But if you don't want to help yourself, if you want to deny and continue lying and going for quick fixes of your glories or this is why or justification, you're just not going to make it through. You're going to continue to eat the dirt.
Yeah, definitely.
Because the truth sets you free, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think maybe Taissa feels like she's seeking that path when she tells Simone to leave the house or what have you, but she's still not addressing the problem. She's just treating the symptom, right? It's you guys should leave so that I don't do anything wrong, but I'm still not going to deal with myself on a professional level, because really what Taissa needs is to be probably seen for psychiatric care and probably medicated and probably this or that. I mean, depending on what's your opinion of what's the right or wrong way to handle it. Yes, if she's going to be a public figure who is a leader of the people, probably you need to have your own mind straightened out before you can be a capable leader.
Well,
Clearly.
and feeling
That's exactly what her little side quest taught us. She's not a clear-headed guide or leader, and therefore what happened? A total disaster. Van was attacked, and Taissa even confesses to Shauna here. She says, well, I was off taking a walk or something, is I think what she says.
Yeah,
So,
she goes for those quick fixes, and she doesn't believe it, but you have to believe it. She's feeling her emotions, her problems. She's living based on situations, people, or anything to endorse, quote unquote, her lies. She has to resist the lies and stop fighting and reinforcing them and endorsing them, and start to like look at all the things that she tried that's not working, or the lifestyle she's living that is all of a lie. And she is literally in a blanket of lies, not the blanket of truth. And, she's conditioned that way. And so is Shauna.
And it's kind of funny. There's a lot of this sort of like confronting your lies. That's kind of a theme of this episode, because we see it with Taissa. We see it with Natalie with the whole Bobby Farley thing. We see it with Shauna and with Callie when Callie's confronting her, and just sort of what's their reaction in the face of that confrontation, Yeah.
And so the truth is that's what truth are really like, in simplicity. And like, once you accept the truth, and after years of torment, and when you're like, the bondage is starting to break, like you see with these people, then you start to renew your mind. And once you renew your mind, you're proactive to find and think the truth. So they're going to start finding it like we see in season 2. But then that's really like, until you find the truth and you're proactive in wanting to find the truth, and your truth is your truth. It's not necessarily everyone's truth all the time, but your truth, your walk, your purpose like is significant to you. Your callings, your profits, whatever. Your heart, like, they are supposed to address you perfect. And once you understand that truth and understand it, like, you understand your identity, and you're not defeated by the spiritual realms, or you're not defeated by the veil being open. You're not hungry anymore. You're not on the field anymore. You're not out in the wilderness with a blanket in the cold winter. You're starting to finally, you become free of your bad choices. You stop breaking and stuck in cycles. You get a new mindset, and you get a new physical result based on denying your deceptive thought patterns. You finally get your honey.
I love what Moni says. Or she could embrace her demons and set up a spiritual healing shop. If she lives her power best public life, she needs some serious meds and therapy. Yes, agree. I cannot imagine Taissa setting up a spiritual healing shop. That I'm just trying to like imagine her in like Sedona or something like that. And she's just not that person,
What is that? So she would be like a Major Payne type character, like, come on, get your spiritual healing. We have to break that box.
Yeah, she's like, I need spiritual boot camp.
get that gas in your van. Get that gas.
Right?
You're your own lamp. You're your own lamp.
Her workout, whatever, her stationary bike or whatever it is she's got.
You gotta fuel your own lamp. You gotta keep the oil in your lamp. You gotta keep the gas. Come on.
Yeah.
Find your strong. Yeah.
So, okay. So that's about enough for Taissa. Let's see who we should talk. Should we just get into the whole Laura Lee situation now?
Well, I want to give a shout out to Jessica Roberts, because in her death page, and you can find her spirit unrailed in other realms of Hollywood. She is a Canadian born person. She was in the core Battlestar Galactica and Alien versus Predator, which I thought was really no wonder she was so cool in a psychopathic narcissist abuse and chains. So I really liked that. I wanted to shout that out, and I wanted to talk about how Misty Misty unveiling to Jessica in these brawn cuffs, she's like, fine, go ahead with Caligula. When Jessica threatens, she says, hi, fine, go ahead. I'll get another bird. She's predatory and dismissive, even to Caligula as objects. And that's such a narcissistic thing to do. And Missy, she cries and then asks to share food with Jessica, which food is also a controlling habit of narcissists. And we see her offering drinks. If I'm hungry, you're hungry too. They control you through eating, drinking, substances, like how she did with Nat, and more. and conveniently, she injects her food with poison. Role
Oh,
of a narcissist.
I,
And
you know, what I noticed a lot about that scene with Jessica and Misty was that even though like they just both seem very desperate, and obviously this is like when excuse me, Misty has been out and she did she snorted Nat's staff. But anyway,
Crystal's
so
not real.
But she comes back and she's coming down and she's having a rough time. And then the whole thing with Caligula and poor Jessica, she's doing the only thing that she's literally handcuffed to a bed. So she has no other option. So she manages to get a hold of Caligula, which I would imagine probably took like all day for her to do. And then she threatens Misty that she's going to kill this bird. And you can see there's hesitation in Jessica, which leads me to believe, I'm like, I wonder if she's actually not as tough as she like presents herself, because she says, oh, this isn't my first time being, kidnapped or held hostage or whatever. But really, like, do we believe her? Maybe she's just trying to pretend like she's more tough than she actually is. Because it's just funny. And then because she doesn't just do it, she's not like a, crazy, heartless individual. She's like, I'll do it. She's like trying to convince Misty that she would actually hurt the bird, but she doesn't actually hurt the bird. And then of course, Misty's reaction, she tries to play it off, but really she's like, yeah, that's my baby. And so I just love that whole scene, but it did lead me to have some questions, because Misty also, in retaliation for that, she could have hurt Jessica. She could have done something to retaliate against her, but instead she just goes, she tightens her handcuffs and she says, you want something to eat? So like you were saying, it is like they're narcissistic.
They control you with food.
Thing. Yeah, toying with her. And
especially mothers, like they control you with food. Jackie's mom with the lunch.
Yeah, like a Munchausen by proxy sort of situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought it was so funny that, like, I don't know, they both are kind of like pretending they're tougher than they are in this situation. And it is kind of a unique dynamic that they have with each other. They're, watching TV together. She's cooking food for her. And I do think that Misty definitely has those Munchausen by proxy tendencies in that regard, where she will like, self-sabotage someone in order to make them dependent upon her, because she feels more important when people are dependent upon her, because people don't want to be around her by choice, which is sad, but it's something that she deals with a lot in season 2. And then she really helps her with.
She tries to be friends, but also like birds are monitoring spirits like Misty. So there's a whole thing about that.
I agree. Birds creep me out. Let's be real. Like I've always been a little bit creeped out by birds.
Yeah.
I'm more of a dog person.
Oh, death, where is your sting?
Yeah, she was calling out Jessica's bluff with Caligula too. Sorry, I just saw that.
Misty is all about injection, and it's like that's what narcissists do. They inject interjections. There's a spirit of interjection too. Like, and and Delilah, she definitely has a thing, because Delilah cuts the cords, and she literally cuts the cords of the box, making everyone dependent on her, giving them over to the wilderness, giving Samson over to the Philistines. There's a lot to it. I really suggest that anyone watching goes and looks up the Delilah spirit. You're going to see the symbolism and the you got to do the work yourself. I'm not going to give it all to you, but it'll be fun. You'll enjoy it, and you'll get into it, and you'll see the symbolism and all of the ties and the bronze cuffs holding you back, the chains.
This makes me happy. If this is real, this makes me very happy. Yeah, the bird thing, and that kind of goes into like the Greek mythology symbolism, because we've talked about Misty being connected. She's somewhere. She straddles the line between Athena and Circe, in my opinion. But Athena is strongly associated with birds and with like the owl and that kind of thing. But owls are also, like in Celtic mythology, Bloodwith, she is the goddess that's associated with owls, and in their culture, owls are kind of like rejected. They're like frightening. And I think that it takes in a lot of like Native American culture too, where they'll like cover the owl's eyes and that kind of thing. Cause they, like you're saying, a monitoring spirit. So there's something to that, with that being the hidden camera that Misty used in Nat's apartment.
Owls are creatures of the night. So, you know, you got to get into the operas and singing and musicals. So
yeah, the show tunes like Misty.
Yeah.
Okay.
Creature of the night. I like that she justifies. She's working all day and night and goes beyond all lengths. But she's like going on beyond all lengths to control, manipulate, and stop everybody's things. And then it's funny that liars unfold and they always give themselves away. I couldn't sit and watch you, Nat. And she's also, you know, controlling through Nat's substances. And it's just like, what? What do you mean watch? And then you find out, you know, you give yourself away. That whole lies always come out. That's why I said the voice of truth is what's going to set you free. Oh, yeah. Twin Peaks. Good shout out here.
Oh.
Well, yeah.
I need to watch
that. Oh, the Owl Scrubs. Yes, that happens too. And yeah.
Yep. So briefly, I just wanted to touch on this scene. So Nat has been, so basically Misty tells her when they're fighting, having that argument, Misty does tell her, which by the way, side note, when they're having that argument and Misty is all like yelling at Nat, I was like, you could tell she has like a pregnant voice when that's happening, because like she's all breathless when she's yelling at her. And I don't know if you guys have ever had to yell at anyone while you were pregnant, but I have. And you get breathless. So breathless.
I do that regularly.
Yeah.
This is great citizen detective work. I didn't even notice. Finch Cafe.
Yep, Finch Cafe.
Finch Cafe.
Oh, interesting.
Tea, more birds. And also tea and coffee. Let's just say I hope that the coffee's not hindering anymore. S Rose is 87.
You know what I noticed too is like Nat, she really like, you know, she's relapsed, and when she's in her hotel room and she's like alone and she's having, you know, she's contemplating ordering that bag and all of that, she really gets into her wildness. Like she puts on the heavy eyeliner and she's really like, she's wearing, I think, leopard print, and she's really getting into that wildness. And we've talked many times about how Natalie is connected to Artemis, who is the goddess of the wild, which is part of why the wilderness like accepts her as their leader. Right. And so, because with Artemis, she literally lives in the wild. She doesn't have a home. And Natalie says that kind of stuff all the time. Home, what's that? You know? And so I just loved in this episode, because when she relapses, she really gets into like her wildness. She gets on the leopard print and all that kind of stuff. And even when she's doing the face mask, I don't see it as much as like self-care as I saw it as like almost she's putting like mud on her face. You know, it's just another level of her wildness.
Well, and that mud thing, though, related to Thaisa and the words. Everyone's telling her, Travis killed himself. Everyone's putting her down. All these other people's words are polluting her, making her eat dirt. She's going back, opening the doors to her demons, going down to the dirt. She's giving away through her emotions, and she's ruled by her emotions, and outward people controlling. She's ruled by love versus the truth. She's making all these ideal fantasies of what the truth is, because she doesn't know the truth, and she's in fear. She has no control. She can't figure out the bank account. She feels loss of everything. She's giving open doors to demons. She wants slayed already through her, like addiction, for example. You know, they come back. They're there. They're always there. And once you open these doors, or once you falter, they're quick to come back in there. And it is like a thing, you know, and not only is she getting back in the wild like that, in the dirt, because she's literally hearing everybody else's voices, eating their words, eating their dirt. Travis killed himself, but that's the thing I love about her. She's like, no, I know he didn't. She knows, but I like the point you put in the notes. She sniffs the pillow. She's like, she's doing like the wild animal kind of pouncing. It is like a whole other thing. And then she becomes an animal and a prey and seeks out her sponsor. She preys on her.
You know, it's I will always,
the same way blackmailing the same way Taissa wants to do. You know, is that's a spirit.
Mm-hmm.
That's an energy that is shared in those kinds of things. It's not just it's not the person. It's like this. It's behaviors and principalities that we go off of. So
same with this woman here. I can't, and I wish I could remember what her name is, but
sponsor.
But that's the same idea. Like it's their shared behavior, you know, and it's not necessarily the person. It's just like they immediately, like Natalie's using her for something devious. And that's all they have in their relationship has always been like deviousness or getting up to, you know, using people's information so that they could get their fix and that. And so
Jezebel, and that's Delilah too. Like they use their weaknesses, or they use, like, she attacks Samson and finds out his hair is his thing. So they attack your weaknesses, or they attack your strong points, or they use you.
Like Natalie was trying to like really play on that. She was really trying to, oh, you're the only person that could understand. I just really needed to talk to you about this. You're the best sponsor I ever had. I heard you got a promotion, you know, trying to really butter her up. And then the second she's like, well, I can't do that, then Nat like completely turns on her and goes into that like vicious mode where she's like, well, then I'll call your work and I will rat you out for this, that, and the other, and you'll lose your job.
Yeah, but liquor numbs your senses, just like when you're about to fall asleep. Like you kind of numb this part of you that is open to, or substances that is open to the veil that you can connect through naturally if you know how. But it helps you to do that, and it helps you to cover things. So, but it is spirits, addictions, spirits. There's so many, like Beelzebub. Like there are demons who control you through your addictions and come out, and then, but like Nat is not, you know. She's not weak anymore like that. She's kind of battled them, but that doesn't make her a bad person. That doesn't make it that she's like going into fall. Like you can fall once, but like it's actually a great test for her to continue to grow and gain back her thing. Because remember last episode, she's benched now. She talks to Kevin, like, I was on the bench with my gun. I was on the bench. She's benching herself. And not only that, like Taissa, I feel like Taissa and Shauna are benching her in a sense too. So right now the queen is not in play. Mm-hmm. And I feel like the symbolism between the connection of Taissa and Shauna, they're trying, both of them who want to be queens too. Like they're kind of like, I feel like the energy is them kind of pushing down the queens so that they can get, you know, they can be ruling right now. Like Shauna's trying to push for that. And I think that, you know, we see that Shauna becomes the next queen or on the pedestal for that. But like, you see, this is the beginning of the attacking the crown.
Because there's, I mean, immediately as soon as like the first time that the adults get back together and like Shauna shows up at Nat's hotel room, they're immediately like at each other's throats. She's like, how's Jeff? And Taissa has to like butt in there. So like they are, and I would love to know more of the history of that as well. Like, why are they so at each other's throats? Because Shauna's like, you have to let her learn her own lessons and yada, yada. Like, and I think that's just another emphasis on the idea of the colony like attacks the queen. When it's time for a new queen, they all join together, they huddle around her and they vibrate and they smother her until she dies. And that was really present in the way that Natalie died. You know, they were all around her. They were in the wilderness energy space, and that's how it happened. And then Shauna became the new queen. So there's something to this, like the contention that's between Nat and Jackie in the younger timeline, and then Nat becomes the queen. And then later it's just between Shauna and Natalie. And so, you know, there's gotta be something to that. But I think that Callie is also an additional layer to that idea. So
yeah, well, when I think that like they become animals, they open themselves to that. They open themselves to that spirit. Mm-hmm. They open themselves, and they names don't matter. If you don't matter, you become a head. Like off with the head, queen is dead. But like, you know, roses and all that, like off with the queen's head. And it's quite something to see them lose it and be so afraid of the wilderness. It's again, this is spirit of fear. You're so afraid of something that you let it control you, and it literally starts to control them. And then they believe that it is what guides their path and it is what they need to survive. They believe that that old trauma is relevant in their, you know, they don't want to let it go. Like they want to use it as their power source, not realizing that the real power source comes from within them, and that that's something that they've already defeated. A lot of times people, especially with addiction, you defeat the demon, but you end up going back to it because it's a source of comfort, because your fear of moving on or fear of the unknown. You know, there's a lot of stuff about fear of the unknown. The only thing to fear is fear itself. And like, you just, and then when you're not getting these fantasies that you wanted, you know, like it's very complex, but
this is a really good idea. Actually, this just clicked in my head like the second I just read your post here, Wild Marjoram. But yeah, I wonder if at the wedding, if there was some sort of, because there probably would have been spirits, they probably would have been partying and good nature, but I wonder if something like weird happened. We need a Shauna's wedding / Taissa Van, because I feel like they broke up like around the time of the wedding.
Sorry.
We need this episode. We need a full flashback episode of Shauna's wedding, some crazy Yellowjackets reunionness, and
Randy hitting the keg
breakup. Like these three things I feel like are all connected. So
I imagine Randy coming with like the keg and like woo with his stripper on his side because he's a strip club manager, right?
Yeah,
I bet they had some, like, yeah, or like what if I don't know, I just kind of imagine they probably eloped, like or like did like a little, probably Jackie's mom helped pay for it.
Probably they have like a little Jackie like interlude in there. Just a quick point, there were queen cards in Twin Peaks. That's something that is pointed out in this episode. Travis is playing cards and Natalie says to him there are no queens in that deck. So
yeah. Oh wait, I want to shout out to, I'm sorry, go ahead, Erin.
No, go ahead.
I want to shout out to now with the music of the week, because Maisie Star, fade into you, strange you never knew. Yeah, so anyway, I just love that when Natalie was going wild, that whole fade into you, because it's so representative of one, losing the addiction, fading into your old patterns, fading into narcissist and the narcissistic trauma abuse. You fade as they consume you, which, you know, I talk about that all the time. And it's just, it's such a relatable song. I love that song.
Yeah, that's probably song of the week. I can't think of any other one. None of them are standing out in my mind right now.
None of them compare anyway. So.
I was going to type this, but no. So S. Rosa says, yes, I want to know how they would go, or how it would go if the Yellowjackets are all drunk and celebrating. I imagine they would become uncivilized the drunker they get. Yeah, I mean, it's one thing if Natalie, you know, she's got her own issues, but imagine like the group of them together. It's like, who got sacrificed at Shauna's wedding?
I don't know. I don't think that a lot of them showed. I think that they're probably all still trauma bombed, because probably like Lottie's in the ward, and Taissa and Vanna are living in New York, you know, or like knowing Shauna, do you think she might have felt like shame with it? Like I would have been like keeping it on the lowdown.
The wedding, you mean?
Yeah.
Shauna doesn't seem like she's a very like showy person in general, but Jeff is the opposite, you know? So I feel like Jeff would want a big wedding just because of him, but Shauna probably would just want something small.
Yeah.
I like kind of like a spotlight on the fact that she's sort of replacing Jackie and marrying her boyfriend and all this kind of, it's like an additional, like what we see that happens at the reunion. It's kind of like what we can imagine maybe their wedding vibe would have been, where it's like, you know, this is a spotlight on the fact that you're marrying your dead best friend's boyfriend.
I honestly, like, I just feel like they probably got dressed up and went down to the courthouse. Like, that's what I would imagine.
But they talked
who would
about
be?
it. They talked about the wedding. So the
Oh, they
wedding
did?
yeah, in season 2.
I don't remember that.
Thaisa went the little pen that she brings. When she gets the pen from the trucker, she takes it to Van, and she said, "This is just like at Shauna and Jeff's wedding."
Oh wow! Oh hey, speaking
And Mrs.
of
Taylor, she's like, her bosoms are showing.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, first off, how mad am I that Travis didn't even, like, instead of talking to his love, instead of, like, he was bombing on, what did I put in the notes? I gotta find it in the notes because I wrote it subconsciously. And
then we'll get into the plane stuff with Laura Lee.
Never. So she has to never look at our boobs. You know, she tells Coach Ben. But if Travis, and asks if Travis might be gay, but then Travis confrontations about Bobby when he should have been about boobies. That's what I put. Clearly showing Travis has major insecurities and anger issues. Mm-hmm. And then Nat ends up shielding it the same way she did with Kevin Tan, projecting and hurting him so he doesn't feel so hurt, and looking and projecting other people's weaknesses. Very prideful, being prideful and blame shifting, very narcissistic. And he looks at her as a body piece of meat that his opponent scored and took a bite of first, versus the person that he loved and was unfolding and the supportive person she was. So I think that's just, like, really tragic that that situation was like that.
Yeah, the way the cookie crumbled. Yeah,
so
it was a little awkward. But it would have been nice if Jackie also didn't throw her under the bus completely. But
so another thing I found, so now that we're getting the plane and we're talking about truckers, there was a song that came up, Teddy's Last Ride. Okay, there's a song called Teddy's Last Ride. Red Solving, Teddy Bear's Last Ride, or Diana Williams does a truck driver songs. I'm just going to share it in the chat. I think I want to do a cover of this. It's really silly. Okay. Teddy Bear's Last Ride, and it's like a whole storyline.
Wait, Teddy Bear's Last Ride? This is about Leonard.
I know, exactly. So it's really funny.
Interesting.
It's a trucker song, and it's talking about, like, a whole trucker experience and all that. So I put it in the chat.
There are some theories, about Leonard, the teddy bear. So Leonard is Laura Lee's teddy bear, and God, do I have a picture of him? I think I do somewhere. But he well, whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyway, so he goes with Laura Lee, obviously, but there is this theory also that in Jackie's room, there's a teddy bear that looks like the exact same as Leonard, except for it has 2 eyes, and Laura Lee's Leonard only has 1 eye. The bear is nothing, like, unique. He's just like a regular teddy bear. So I don't really feel like there's, I don't know. It's kind of a weird theory. And maybe it was just like something that maybe it was an overlap because one's in the pilot and one is, like, obviously becomes like a character for Laura Lee. So it might just be one of those weird little connections or overlaps or something like that. But there is also this idea that it connects to the bear that later in, I want to say episode 10, that Lottie ends up, that approaches the group and Lottie ends up slaughtering, right? And so, there's just something there. And of course to the one-eyed bear in True Detective.
I kind of feel like the one-eyed bear is because she's not seeing the whole picture in the realm. Like, she becomes like I think she's a spiritual narcissist and she's becoming like a martyr, but like she's so this whole thing is like she feels like God's angry with her and feeling God's anger is upon her and that he, like, is punishing. And it's kind of reminiscent of this, like, legalistic mindset. And it's actually in the Old Testament things where her religion and her traditions become and made her believe that that it has more power than her. And when you become like a new creation, when you're reborn in the blood, you're no longer a sinner, but a saint. So you learn your identity and you finally recognize lies. And so her worry and deception is like kind of multiplying the wrong foot. And I also feel like part of the reason that she's stuck there is because she didn't eat the body. She tried to, like, she didn't eat Javi. Like, she didn't get to be free. She wasn't born again. She didn't eat the body. She believed like it became in the power. Okay, what am I trying to say with this? There was something. I'm sorry. I lost my point. I'll come back to this one. It'll come to me like when we're talking about it. I'm sorry. But like, you kind of see what I mean? Like, so the reason she gets haunted and she's there is because she wasn't able to consume. She became the consuming fire that started. Maybe she was a sacrifice unintentionally, but like, she wasn't able to eat and get out. Like, you have to eat Javi. Like, she was doing the thing based in fear, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, that's kind of like, sort of the body of Christ symbolism, right? Where in order to be saved, then you have to eat of the body of Christ kind of thing, or to accept him into your heart. I prefer, or like the cannibalism being connected to accepting the wilderness in your heart is kind of what I like to equate it to. But same concept, right?
Yeah, I mean, the wilderness is like, to me, symbolic. Like, when Jesus goes into the wilderness, he's tempted for like 40 days and he's tempted by Satan, and then he just finds his authority in his body and blood, and like, he doesn't allow it. But the wilderness is like the openness of the veil. The wilderness is like the world. The wilderness is everything, and it's the temptation. The wilderness is like a bully. It contradicts. It gives you all these temptations. It takes away. It becomes this storm in your life. And we all need to go through periods of wilderness. We all go through periods of isolation, and we're supposed to, because that's when we're really truly tested, and especially in our growth and learning and everything. So, yeah, it's consume it.
Yeah, there's some, and even in this episode, Laura Lee, she's sitting by herself and she's like, show me a sign. And then the little bird comes, but even so, then Lottie comes as well. And she's like, what do you think they're okay? Or what if they're not okay? And Laura Lee's just like, well, they're in God's hands. And she is really trusting of God, which is.
But not, because here's the thing. She tries to control the plane. She tries to drive. She tries to make. So when the whole thing about trusting in God is allowing God to do work in his time. She's trying to manipulate that. She's trying to take the plane to another level. When they've fallen into the plane, they're in another plane existence realm. She's trying to control it, and she's trying to make her own self-deceptions and lies and their DNA. Maybe it's a generational curse of controlling. My grandpa was a pilot, so I know what I'm doing. Like, and no matter how much you study the word and study this stuff, or if you study, or no matter how much religious you are, no matter what you do religious tradition wise, or what good acts you do, if you don't accept Jesus, or if you don't have Jesus and consume the blood of Jesus, if you don't consume the body of Jesus or Javi or whatever we want to put in the sample, you're not saved. Like, that's the New Testament. You can do all these works, you can try all these things, you can be as good as you are, you can evangelist, you can do all these things, but if you don't have accept and consume the body, you get burned, like die. So,
and we should point out also, like, Laura Lee, the pool, we skipped past this, but the name of the summer camp she's at, or what have you, is like Mary Magdalene, which is, a prophetess of Jesus Christ. And so, and his wife, or rumored to be, or maybe just a prostitute, which is what they call all the women who have half a mind in the Bible. So anyways, but I thought that was really interesting, especially considering her sort of prophet, like, she's carrying this sacred, like, biblical knowledge in a sense. Not necessarily that everyone's operating off of the information that she has, but anyways, there's just some definite, like, she's definitely got Mary Magdalene vibes to her. For sure. And then with Lottie, sort of
Shauna too. We see that with Shauna. We see Mary Magdalene represented throughout the series.
Shauna is more like Mother Mary, in my opinion, like her whole symbolism and when she has the baby and everything. But anyways. But sorry, I just wanted to comment on Moni's comment here. She says, my friend won't watch this show because she She thinks it's all about cannibalism. I keep telling her it's so much more. Listen, I have this problem myself trying to convince. I try to explain, and I'll tell you guys, last week after we live stream, like literally, like I don't really wear makeup except on Mondays. And so my kids' bus driver, they came to drop the kids off, and they were like, you know, you're just so pretty. And I was like, listen, I only wear makeup one day out of the week. So the rest of the time I'm like in pajamas. And I told them that I have a YouTube channel, which I don't tend to tell a lot of people just because it's so weird and niche. But anyway, so they asked what my channel was, and I was just like horrified to tell them, because like the first video on my channel is or my most recent video is cannibalism and sapphic love.
Hey,
so
prophets are not accepted in their own town.
I know. I'm like, I'm not endorsing cannibalism. I'm just, there's concepts surrounding it. I try to like explain, and then they're like, what's your channel about? I'm like, well, it's book reviews and show reviews. And then like, but same with my sister. I've tried to get her to watch Yellowjackets, and she won't. She's like, you're such a freak. It's all about cannibalism. I'm like,
did you tell them the name of the podcast?
No.
It's like most people are so turned off initially, or like they're like, this is a horror film, I'm not going to watch it, or they suggest, and most people don't even give it the time of day, honestly. Like, let's be real, like not everybody has the attention span. And it's funny because we have like we both have ADHD, we both like, but we still are so into this concept. And most people just, you know, they're used to their monitoring spirits running through Instagram, running through the web, running through and just checking something and not paying attention to the content. Are you about consuming, or are you about content? Like, it's, you know, are you cheap, or are you about like couture? So we're trying to be couture up in here.
Not to dog on my own sister, but I try and like broaden her horizons. But it was funny because earlier in the stream you mentioned that one poem, or like that one, you know, that I guess it's kind of a poem about the footsteps and that whole thing. Like, I don't know if you guys in the chat are familiar with like with that like kind of little anecdote about Jesus, or about your angel basically who carries you, and the footsteps in the sand. Anyways, and my grandma used to have like this piece of art on the wall in the bathroom of all places, mind you. So I remember staring at it every time I was on the toilet. But it's that poem, right, about the footsteps in the sand. And the other day I'm like talking to my sister, who I can't get her to watch Yellowjackets, and she's like, you know, I heard this poem the other day and it just really made me cry. And I sat there and I reread it for like an hour, just rereading it over and over. And it was just so moving for me. And I'm like, girl, all right.
Good, yeah.
It just made me laugh a lot.
Like Mary Magdalene.
We even get on this subject. These things just happen.
Like Mary Magdalene, she was the apostle of apostles. And like, if you're like prophetics, you know, we're never understood. The prophets are never understood. They're never accepted in their hometown. People think they're crazy. People told John the Baptist he's crazy. And beyond that, like, you're either called or you're not. Like, do you hear the calling? And then that's also that one episode with the calls, and you're either calling or you're not. And if you're called to this show, then you're called. And I feel like everybody who's in it, you're called. So
yeah, it's a unique message, but also it's like so good and it's so deep. And so if you take the time, because there's so many archetypes that are explored within this story, which is what makes it so attractive, like as for women, right? And also women are connected to ritual and to magic and that kind of, you know, the darkness and all of that, and the wilderness. That's like a women's energy, right? Not like men who are like conquering and domineering and that, or like dominating of the wilderness, versus women are the wilderness. We're the darkness. We're the, you know, that feminine energy. And that plays into True Detective also. But
that can be attracted to soccer. They can be attracted to the theft and punk and robber or stuff.
Well, but it's like, you know, there are concepts, and then these women each sort of fit into their own archetype. And so you can really find, like, it doesn't really matter who you are. You can find someone to connect with in this story and, you know, see yourself in them.
And it's not just that, it's beyond archetypes. It's like teachings, it's underlines of the Bible, underlines of Carl Jung, underlines of mysticism, underlines of books. We get a book in every episode pretty much. There's like a whole book club that's underlines. There's subtle remarks and subtle things to share, and they do so well in adding all these things in there, and it's the whole trickster vibe, like what is it about, but it's all about the same thing, you know. So it's very, this is a masterpiece. Yellowjackets is literally, to me, a masterpiece, and I love how they use and give honor and homage to these like books and things and great works of art that you know, if you know, you know. If you don't, then start studying. Look at her. She's
Laura Lee knows. She's like, I know a great book. I know one great book.
Yeah.
But yeah, so no, Laura Lee is a badass. You know, she decided, like, basically after Van came back and they had to sew up her face and, you know, these struggles, she's like, I'm going to go, you know, I'm going to find a way out. And I do love, she says something like, I'm going to save us, or something like that. She says something with that wording, with saving them. I'm going to save us all. And, I do hope, I was like thinking about that. I was like, wouldn't it be cool if there was some sort of little thing from the plane that exploded, like something that reflects or something like that, which draws the attention to them, or some sort of like radio something or another, which, what if Laura Lee is the person who saves them? You know, what if something happened from the plane explosion or something like that? I just thought it was like a unique idea for her to say that line.
Also, though, that's like spiritual narcissism. It's like where you think, like, I mean, we all have a power inside of us to be God-like image. But when you think that you are God, when you think that you're going to save everyone and stuff like that, there's a fine line between what you do, how you do it, and that motive. Like, if you're doing it for yourself, she's kind of becoming a spirit more narcissist in this. I'm going to save them. I'm not, instead of putting her trust in the higher power, which as a Christian, in her sense, is what you do. No, Jesus works through you. Jesus saves them. You know, the blood saves them, not you, Laura Lee. So that's the number one no of a prophet. Your power doesn't come from you. Your power comes from the higher. And so I think that's why she blew up. Like, that's why she went into the fire. You know, she's starting to think that she's the one with the power versus.
But she could become like a martyr. Like, she could be prophet to martyr type of situation.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
So there's the thing about the false prophets, and then a lot of them, there's a false prophet martyr syndrome where, you know, again, like I said, believing you are, God is punishing you, or that like you have, you know, you accept that you're God's image, but you're not God. You're not God. You're not the leader. You accept that you have powers in his image and that you can do things. You know, I like her can-do attitude, the positive thing. That's great. But when she became consumed and like started to, you know, make it about her, that was like a deception.
Yeah. There is a show, they did a show on Netflix called Messiah. Have you watched that?
No, I haven't.
It's pretty good. It's about like a prophet, and the idea is he a false prophet or real, you know, but it's in modern times. So it's like, because we don't deal with this kind of stuff as frequently as maybe historically, like where people might have some sort of gift or ability or, you know, whatever, where they might see themselves as a prophet. There's some different, I think there's a new movie also coming out called The Book of Clarence or something that kind of goes over this idea.
It did come out. It's actually really, I haven't watched it, but it's cool. But like, also, she kind of is representative of the burning bush. Like when Moses goes out and he goes into isolation in the wilderness, and then like he aflames a burning bush, and like he understands where the power comes from. And she's again being a burning bear.
Leonard is the burning bush.
I don't know.
I like it. But yeah, so they're flying in the plane, and then, I don't know, this kind of weird situation happens where suddenly Leonard bursts into flames, which I don't think really happened. It seems more like that was some sort of prophetic insight that she experienced right in that moment. Like she knew her death was imminent or upon her. maybe some DMT something from the plane fumes. Who knows?
So yeah, I just looked it up. So Leonard is it means like lion-hearted, lion strength, and you know, deception. And it talks about Satan comes with you with the heart of a lion, and then like also we, you know, and a snake. And Leonard was the name of a saint in the Middle Ages, known as the patron saint of prisoners, and now she's locked in the prison. Isn't that interesting? I think I gotta look more into that. I'm just kind of Googling it right now. I won't lie, but I thought it was pretty interesting that patron saint Leonard is the, let's see, pointing out that it's an inspiration. Middle Eastern books of antiquity. Let's see, and it's claiming that there are false words, false things. Okay, I don't know. I gotta look into it. False books of the Bible.
Wow. But yeah, unfortunately, the old plane just didn't make it out. And there's a lot of theories around this. Like, why didn't the plane make it out? Was it just because it's an old plane that hadn't been driven? I mean, really, they should have done maybe a little bit more test. I mean, obviously they're young. They don't think about these things. But Coach should have been like, if you're going to take this plane out, we should at least like try and start it up, see, you know, check and see if it's running and that. But it seems like she just got in there and was like, okay, we're doing this. And they didn't even do like a trial run or anything like that. So, and also like gasoline does go bad after a certain amount of time. So like the gasoline that was in the plane, who knows if that was still like, you know, even viable. But, unfortunately, you know, she gets up, she takes off, and it's a very exciting moment. But then they're like standing on the shore and they're like, is that smoke? Is there smoke coming from that? And then that's it. She just blows up. So, and of course, Lottie definitely is just like completely destroyed by this. You know, that's her best friend. That's sort of her spiritual guide. And, you know, they did have that moment earlier in the episode where she was like, do you think they're okay? And she's like, they're in God's hands now. And that's kind of the same thing, like that. Those words have to be like going through Lottie's head, just like haunting her, you know?
Well, and I think now is when they finally, I mean, they've been denying the signs, the red rivers, the other things that are happening. And now is when they see like, you know, they're being stuck. Is there spirits keeping us? Are we actually stuck? Like the wilderness is real. They're seeing the power that is not allowing them to leave. There's something that you have to do. And that's like, you know, that's significant of the wilderness. Like you have to go through it. And until you do what you're doing or learn what you're supposed to do, you don't get out of it. And you can try to get out of it. But if you carry those spirits with you, like as you see, it's still a deception. It's still lying. You're still controlled by that. And it's like, yeah, it's very deep.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. I mean, Laura Lee, not that any of them would deserve it more than another one would, but Laura Lee was pure-hearted. And so it's just extra
tainted
extra
though.
Huh?
She kind of she seemed like that, but she wasn't. She was conditioned to be projective of that. I don't like, again, she didn't give it to, I don't know, maybe she put her power in her.
You know what I just thought of too is with Lottie's shirt having the stripes. You remember like when I was talking about that scene with Jackie and Nat, and they're like wearing the black stripes because they're fading into each other as like the queens, right? This is kind of the same concept with Lottie and Laura Lee, because it's like colorful. It's kind of the same colors as Laura Lee's dress, which Lottie takes and like wears all the time. It's sort of her like prophetess attire or garb.
Is that her prison of many colors?
Yeah, exactly. Sure. I love that. Yeah.
So I did like, I thought of we were talking about like, I'm like a bird. I see a bird. I want to fly away. I know I know where my soul lies. Or we do like I had come up, where is it? To No Rain. Because my faith, you know, all I can do is read a book to fly a plane.
Moni, we missed
my purpose.
24 minutes late, but we can still honor the green. We can still honor the wilderness on the East Coast.
Oh man, it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. It's all day, every day. Time doesn't matter in the Vale, okay? Time doesn't matter where we are.
Time doesn't. We're on island time, so it's all good. Whatever.
No, we're in the wilderness. We're in wilderness Vale time. That's the point. Is like
wilderness
the
time operates off of the sun, and right now there's such a terrible storm outside that there is no sun, so it's fine.
So I think that's pretty much everything. I mean, what do you think? What kind of recipe should we make? Any thoughts, chat, for recipes for this episode?
Like some fish things that Travis catches in the net. Jackie fish fry. I don't know. That sounds wrong. Well, maybe not.
Okay. Well, that's still going, but
yeah.
Anyways,
but next week we'll be back, and next week I'm super excited about, because next week is my very favorite episode, Doom Coming, and it takes place. It's Imbolc next week here in real life, so I think that's very fitting, because Imbolc is when Persephone re-emerges from the underworld to bring spring upon us. And so while it is a sad time for Hades, I think it's really ironic that we're going to be doing Doom Coming on Imbolc. So I just thought I'd share that with you all. And if you don't you haven't watched enough of my videos, obviously.
Let's bring it into action. I'm down with it. So
heck yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for being here, and we're going to wrap it up. We've been going for quite a while, and I need to go potty. So
hey, shorter than our other streams, though. So I think it was a really great stream. Thank you, Erin. As always, I love the conversation. I love the thought processing, and I love to listen, detect, and brainstorm with you. Thank you.
Same. We always have such a good time. And, Mandy and I, we're going to finish out season 1, and then we'll probably end up taking a little bit of a break from streaming, but we are going to actually, can I announce this, Mandy?
I'm going to be in the wilderness. I'm going to be in the wilderness a lot, and I can't, I'm going to be a third wheel in House of Dragon. I'll be the third.
Well, we're gonna cover House of the Dragon together. So the Monday Morning Murder podcast will be coming to King's Landing, because there's plenty of murder that's going to be coming out in House of the Dragon. So
I'll be like Prince Damon and kind of show up when you call, because I don't know, because I'm gonna be like
anytime Prince Damon wants to show up is fine by me.
Yeah, I'm gonna be moving. I'm gonna be doing a lot of stuff this summer too. So the wilderness is really upon me in my life, and I'm trying to get out of it. So that's why I really relate to Yellowjackets. But anyway, I'm with you always. You know that.
Wild Marjoram, if I do, I might end up covering True Detective, or at least doing maybe a live stream on it or something like that. I do have a lot of thoughts. And I don't know if I was talking about this earlier. But I have a ton of thoughts, but I'm also not super well versed on all the seasons of True Detective. Like I have not watched season 3 at all. I only watched the first episode of season 2. I've watched season 1 a few times and I loved it, but the other seasons were not so great for me. But then season 4 is kicking ass. So I'm I don't know. I don't feel confident in my being versed. So I'm kind of I'm straddling the line of just enjoying the show, but also I have a lot of theories, and I feel I have a lot of unique ideas that I haven't seen other people talking about for the symbolism and that kind of thing. So I don't know. I'm toying with the idea. I might just do a live stream because it's a little bit less stress and that kind of thing. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, because I do really love it. It's really good. And I feel like I can have some interesting ideas. And also, is Travis Hades?
We think so. Yeah, I think so.
Well,
we made connections. Yeah.
There's something there. We haven't quite, there's something there.
Well, because I feel maybe Javi's kind of a Zeus and the whole brotherhood thing happening. But anyway, we gotta go. I gotta go because
we could get into this all day. All right, guys. But we love you. Thank you for being here, and we will be back next week to be prepared for Doom Coming. So you guys bring your shroom brew and your berry liquor. I don't know.
And,
for a morning show on a Monday.
And most of all, bring your hearts of gold.
Exactly. Anyways, thank you all. We'll see you later. Jackie out.
Jackie out.